"Look at you," Chief Harold Briggs said, his eyes dropping to Maya's old leather bag before climbing back to her face. "Some black lady with a busted purse comes in here saying, 'DC sent her to save us. Give me a break.'" Before Maya could utter a single word, Briggs was already moving. His rough hand shot out, grabbing the worn leather strap and wrenching it hard, snapping it clean off. Maya staggered, nearly crashing into the cold counter before regaining her balance, just as the bag hit the floor, scattering everything inside across the ground. A black notebook, an encrypted phone, a folded photograph of an older black man in a marine dress uniform, a badge case that slid beneath the edge of the front desk, and a small envelope spilling 6 handwritten names, like quiet witnesses. Then Briggs looked down at the mess and gave a short, cruel laugh. "Well, would you look at that?" he said. Washington's finest came prepared with a junk drawer. Maya stood still. Her face did not change. That bothered him more than anger would have. "What's wrong?" Briggs said. "No speech? No federal lecture? No big important title you want to throw around?" Maya slowly looked from the torn strap in his hand to his face. "I heard you," she said. "You heard me," he muttered, shaking his head. "Now get this straight." "You heard me," he muttered, shaking his head. "Now get this straight. This is my town, my station. I don't give a damn who sent you from DC. I sure as hell ain't taking orders from some black lady who walks in here." Maya lowered herself to one knee and began gathering her things. She picked up the photograph first. Her thumb brushed across her father's face. Isaiah William, United States Marine. A man who had taught her that dignity was not the noise a person made, but the line they refused to cross inside themselves. Maya placed the photograph back into the damaged bag. Briggs kept talking. "That your daddy?" he said, leaning slightly. "Bet he'd be real proud seeing you crawl around my lobby." The veteran in the corner stood up. "Chief, that's enough." Briggs turned on him. "Sit down before you make this your business." The old man's jaw tightened, but Maya gave him the smallest shake of her head. Briggs looked pleased with himself. "See that? That's what respect looks like. An old man knows when to stay in his lane. Maybe you ought to learn from him." Maya picked up the black notebook, then the phone, then the envelope with the 6 names. She checked the names without appearing to. All there, folded, safe. The 2 patrol officers near the hallway. The gray-haired sergeant who wanted to step forward but did not. Maya rose with the torn bag held against her side. Her posture remained calm, almost gentle, but there was something in her eyes now that made the nearest officer look away. Briggs noticed it and sneered. "You think that stare means something?" he said. "You think silence makes you strong?" Briggs stepped closer. "They send you here for optics? Is that it? A black female agent so Washington can pat itself on the back while real cops clean up the streets." Maya looked past him at the bronze plaque on the wall. Names of fallen Atlanta officers were engraved there in gold. She read the first name, then the second, then the third. "Don't look away when I'm talking to you," Briggs snapped. Maya brought her eyes back to him. "I'm listening." "No, you're performing. That calm little act. That superior federal attitude. I'm here because your department requested support on a credible domestic terror threat. My department requested resources, not attitude. You need to verify my credentials and take me to the operations room." Briggs laughed. Yes, you don't need to tell me what I need in my own building." "Then I'll say it another way," Maya replied. "Every minute this conversation continues, your city becomes less safe." Several officers looked up. Briggs's face darkened. "You got a mouth on you. I have a job. And I have a badge that says you don't move unless I tell you to move." Maya glanced toward the torn leather strap still hanging from his hand. "You also have a security camera recording you, delaying federal coordination during an active threat window." The clerk behind the desk looked up at the camera. The gray-haired sergeant's expression tightened. A younger officer swallowed. Briggs saw it and raised his voice to regain the room. "Don't stand there looking scared. She's nobody until I say she's somebody." Maya took one slow breath. "Chief Briggs," she said quietly, "you are making a serious mistake." He smiled. "That's supposed to scare me?" "No," Maya said. "It's supposed to be accurate. He pointed toward the hallway. Interview 2. Put her there until I decide whether to call whatever office claims her. No one moved. His voice sharpened. Did everyone suddenly forget how to follow orders? The gray-haired sergeant took one cautious step forward. Chief, maybe we should call the federal contact number first. Briggs spun toward him. Maybe you should remember who signs your evaluation. The sergeant stopped. Maya saw the shame cross his face. She did not judge him. Fear wore many uniforms. Sometimes it looked like a mortgage, sometimes like a pension, sometimes like 30 years of service and a sick wife waiting at home. Briggs turned back to Maya. Walk. Maya adjusted the ruined bag against her side and started toward the hallway. As she moved, officers stepped aside, not out of respect yet, out of uncertainty, out of the uncomfortable sense that they had just watched a powerful man mistake patience for weakness. Behind her, Briggs called out, "And search that bag before she gets comfortable. For all we know, she walked in here carrying trouble." Maya paused at the hallway entrance. She did not turn fully around. She only looked at the clock. 8:49 a. Then she said softly, "Trouble was already here before I walked in." Briggs frowned. "What did you say?" Maya faced forward again. "Nothing. You're ready to understand." The hallway swallowed the noise of the lobby, but not the humiliation. Maya William walked beside the gray-haired sergeant, with her damaged leather bag held against her hip. The torn strap dangled from one side like a broken promise. Behind them, Chief Harold Briggs's voice still carried through the corridor, loud, bitter, and hungry for an audience. "Make sure she doesn't touch anything," Briggs barked. "Last thing I need is Washington blaming us after their little visitor contaminates my investigation." The sergeant's nameplate read Miller. He was somewhere in his early 60s, with tired blue eyes and a wedding ring worn thin from decades of use. He opened the door to interview 2, but he did not step back right away. "I'm sorry about the bag," he said quietly. Maya looked at him. "Are you?" He swallowed. "I should have stepped in sooner." "Yes," Maya said. The answer was not cruel. That made it harder for him to hear. Miller nodded once, then pushed the door open. "You can sit in here." Interview 2 was a small room with beige walls, a metal table, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner, and a smell of old coffee baked into the air. There was a mirror on one wall. Maya knew without checking that someone could watch from the other side. Rooms like this were built to make people feel smaller. She had spent her life refusing to shrink. She stepped inside and set the torn bag on the table. One by one, she placed her belongings in order. The encrypted phone, the notebook, the envelope with 6 names, the folded photograph of her father, and finally the badge case Briggs had not bothered to open. Miller looked at the badge case. "Ma'am, are you really federal?" Maya lifted her eyes. "You already know the answer." He looked away, ashamed. "Chief doesn't like being surprised." "No one does." "You got a number I can call?" "I had one," Maya said, glancing at the encrypted phone. The screen was cracked from the fall, but still alive. "I'll make it work." Before Miller could answer, Briggs appeared in the doorway. "Don't get cozy," he said. "This isn't a lounge." Maya remained standing. Briggs looked at the items on the table. "That all your important government equipment? A notebook, a broken phone, and a sad little family picture?" Miller shifted uncomfortably. "Chief," Briggs cut him off without looking. "Out." Miller hesitated. "Out, Sergeant." Miller left, closing the door halfway behind him, but Briggs pushed it open again. He wanted witnesses. Men like him always did. 2 younger officers stood just beyond the frame, pretending not to listen. Briggs stepped inside. "You know what your problem is, Miss William? You walk in here thinking silence makes you mysterious." Maya picked up her father's photograph and slid it carefully into the notebook to protect it. Briggs watched her. "No response? Nothing? You people always act like you're above being corrected." Maya looked at him then, calm as still water. "Correction requires accuracy." One of the young officers outside lowered his head quickly. Briggs heard the almost laugh and turned red around the neck. "You think this is funny? No. You think I won't have you removed? I think you're running out of time." That sentence did what insults had not. It made Briggs pause. Maya opened her black notebook to a marked page. The handwriting was small, precise, and arranged in clean columns. Times, locations, dispatch references, traffic camera markers, vehicle descriptions. She had already built half the pattern before anyone in this building had offered her a chair. Briggs glanced at the page, then dismissed it. You don't know a damn thing about what's happening here. I know your department has been treating City Hall as the primary target. It is the primary target. No, Maya said. It's the obvious target. Briggs stared at her. She turned the notebook toward him. 3 anonymous threat calls mentioned City Hall. 2 online posts used the phrase, seat of power. 1 suspicious van was seen near the municipal parking garage. That made your team focus downtown government buildings, because that's where the evidence points. That's where someone wanted you looking. Briggs leaned over the table. Careful. Maya did not lower her voice. The Veterans Memorial Convention Center hosts 12,000 attendees tomorrow morning. Mostly veterans, families, city officials, first responders, and press. That is a symbolic target with a civilian density City Hall won't have on a Saturday. Briggs's eyes hardened. We already reviewed the convention center, with an outdated floor plan. His mouth closed. Maya continued. Your copy does not include the service corridor added during the 2019 renovation. It connects to the lower loading dock and runs beneath Hall C. If someone wanted to move a device inside without crossing public security, that is the route. For the first time, the 2 officers outside stopped pretending not to listen. Briggs noticed. His pride moved faster than his judgment. You got all that from sitting in my lobby? I got some of it before I arrived. I confirmed the rest by watching your people walk past me. The insult was quiet and devastating. Briggs stepped closer, palms on the table. Listen to me, little girl. I don't care how many maps you drew in your diary. You don't come into my house and embarrass me. Maya's eyes lifted slowly. Then, stop making it easy. The room went still. Briggs's right hand tightened into a fist. He did not swing. Not yet. But the desire crossed his face plainly enough for Maya to measure distance, weight, balance, and angle, without appearing to move at all. Outside the room, Sergeant Miller returned with a folder in hand. He looked from Briggs to Maya and sensed the shift. Chief, dispatch just forwarded an update. Bomb squad found nothing at City Hall. Briggs turned. What? Nothing. Parking garage, mailroom, boiler access, roof mechanicals. Clear. Maya closed her notebook. Because City Hall was never the target, Briggs snatched the folder from Miller's hand and scanned the page. His face changed in small degrees, not into belief, but into something close to fear wearing anger's clothes. Miller looked at Maya. How did you know? Briggs snapped. She didn't know. She guessed. Maya picked up her damaged bag. Call SWAT command. I give the orders here, Briggs said. Then give the right one. He stepped toward her. You are really testing my patience. No, Chief. The terrorists are. That word finally landed in the room with its full weight. Terrorists. Not prank callers. Not protesters. Not some vague threat that could be managed with roadblocks and press statements. Terrorists. Miller's face tightened. Men over 60 understood certain words differently. They remembered Oklahoma City. They remembered September 11. They remembered mornings when phones rang and the world never returned to what it had been. Maya saw that memory pass through him. Briggs saw it too and hated that she had reached the older man in a way he had not. He pointed at Miller. Get out. Both of you outside. I'm done entertaining this. Miller did not move. Chief, maybe we should make the call. Briggs turned on him. You want to end your career today? The sergeant's jaw worked once. For a moment, Maya thought he might finally cross the line fear had drawn for him. But then the phone on his belt chirped. He answered, listened, and went pale. What? Briggs demanded. Miller lowered the radio slowly. State Fusion Center is asking why Agent William hasn't joined the command call. The air left the room. Briggs looked at Maya. Maya looked back at him without satisfaction. There was no victory in being right when people were in danger. From the hallway, a young officer called out, Chief, we've got multiple SWAT units moving toward the building. Briggs frowned. Who authorized that? Maya reached for her broken phone. The screen flickered under her thumb. I did, she said. Briggs took one step toward her. You had no authority. Maya opened the badge case at last and placed it on the table. The gold federal shield caught the fluorescent light. Next to it was her identification. Special Agent Maya William, Federal Counterterrorism Division. The two young officers outside leaned in. Miller stared. Briggs's face tightened, but he still fought the truth because men like him often preferred disaster to humility. Maya slipped the badge case back into her bag. Authority was never the problem, Chief. Your willingness to recognize it was. If Maya's courage and dignity touched your heart, please give this video a like. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from your city or state because someone nearby may be watching this story right alongside you. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then, from somewhere beyond the interview room, the front doors of the station opened with a force that carried down the hall. Boots struck tile. Radios crackled. A commanding voice cut through the building. Where is Agent Maya? William. Maya closed her notebook. Briggs turned toward the sound, and for the first time that morning, his face showed something honest. He was afraid. The voice from the lobby came again, sharper this time. Where is Agent Maya William? Chief Harold Briggs stood in the doorway of interview 2, as if the floor had changed beneath him. For most of his career, men had come looking for him. Reporters, council members, nervous officers, angry citizens, grieving families. He was used to being the center of the room before he entered it. But now the room had turned away from him before he could give permission. Boots moved down the hall. Maya slid her notebook into the damaged leather bag. The torn strap hung loose, but she held the bag with the same care she had shown when picking her father's photograph off the floor. Briggs looked at her. What did you do? Maya closed the bag. My job. You don't call tactical units into my station without my authorization. I notified SWAT before I arrived, she said. They were waiting for confirmation. Confirmation of what? That your department had lost operational focus. His face flushed. You arrogant. He stopped because Sergeant Miller was still there, and two younger officers were watching, and the hallway had filled with the sound of men who were not impressed by local pride. Commander James Callahan appeared at the end of the corridor. He was in his early 50s, tall, square-shouldered, wearing a black tactical vest over a dark uniform. His hair was cropped close, gray at the sides. His face had the weathered calm of a man who had walked into dangerous places often enough to stop pretending danger was dramatic. Behind him came 6 SWAT officers in full gear, rifles slung low, eyes moving, boots controlled, not rushing, not hesitating, moving like a single thought. Callahan's gaze passed over Briggs, Miller, the young officers, and stopped on Maya. Agent William, he said. Maya nodded once. Commander. The way he said her title changed the room more than shouting could have. There was recognition in it, professional and immediate. He had not come to ask whether she belonged. He had come because he already knew. Briggs stepped forward, trying to reclaim the space. Commander Callahan, this is my building. You don't storm in here without clearing it through my office. Callahan did not look away from Maya. I cleared it through the governor's emergency liaison and the federal counterterrorism desk. Briggs's mouth tightened. I wasn't notified. That appears to be a pattern this morning, Callahan said. One of the younger officers coughed into his fist. Briggs turned sharply. Something funny? No one answered. Maya stepped into the hallway. Callahan's eyes dropped briefly to the torn strap of her bag, then to the scuffed phone in her hand, then back to her face. He saw more than the damage. He saw the story of it. Problem? He asked. Delay, Maya said. How much? Approximately 91 minutes from my arrival. Callahan's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. That's a lot of time. Yes. Briggs inserted himself between them. Now hold on. She showed up with no proper introduction, refused to respect chain of command, and started making accusations about my department. Maya looked at him. I showed credentials to your front desk. Briggs pointed at her. You showed a badge case. Anyone can carry one. Maya's voice stayed even. You tore my bag open before verifying it. The hallway went still. Callahan slowly turned his head toward Briggs. You did what? Briggs's face twitched. I removed a suspicious bag from an unknown individual. during an active threat environment. Maya glanced at the security camera above the hallway corner. That is not what happened. Callahan looked to Miller. Sergeant, Miller swallowed. For decades, his job had been to survive men like Briggs. But there were moments in an older man's life when he could feel the measure of himself becoming public. He looked at Maya, then at the floor, then at Callahan. The chief grabbed the strap and yanked it off her shoulder. Miller said quietly. Her property spilled across the lobby. Briggs stared at him. Miller, the sergeant's voice shook once, then steadied. That's what happened, sir. For the first time all morning, Briggs looked less like a chief and more like a man surrounded by consequences. Callahan did not raise his voice. We'll deal with that later. Right now, Agent William, I need your assessment. Maya looked toward the operations floor. Not here. I need your people. A current city grid, convention center plans, live traffic feeds, bomb squad status, and any update from the State Fusion Center. Callahan turned to one of his officers. Get her everything, Briggs snapped. Nobody is moving operational material without my approval. Callahan finally faced him fully. Chief, with respect, you are no longer the deciding authority in this operation. The words struck Briggs harder than any insult. This is my city, Briggs said, and it is currently under a federal terrorism response. Callahan replied. You can help, or you can stand aside. Maya had already started walking toward the command floor. Briggs followed, furious. Don't you walk away from me. She did not stop. Maya, Callahan said behind her. How soon do you need to brief? Now. The group moved down the hallway. Officers stepped out of the way, some confused, some alarmed, some newly attentive. Word traveled ahead of them faster than footsteps. The woman from the lobby, the one the chief humiliated, the federal agent. SWAT came for her. By the time they reached the main operations room, the space had changed from casual disorder to anxious activity. Large screens showed maps of Atlanta, street closures, camera stills, radio channels, and the downtown area surrounding City Hall. Coffee cups sat beside keyboards. Half-eaten breakfast biscuits cooled in paper wrappers. A whiteboard listed possible targets. At the top was City Hall, circled twice in red. Maya stopped in front of the board. She stared at it for 3 seconds. Then she picked up a marker and crossed it out. A detective standing nearby said, Hey, we've been working that angle all night. Maya turned. That is why they gave it to you. The detective opened his mouth, then closed it when Callahan stepped beside her. Briggs came in last, breathing hard through his nose. You do not erase my board. Maya uncapped the marker again and wrote beneath the crossed-out target, Veterans Memorial Convention Center. A low murmur moved through the room. That event is tomorrow, someone said. Maya looked at the clock. No, it begins in 3 hours. Staff, vendors, security volunteers, early arrivals, elderly veterans, families, local press. The crowd is already forming. A woman at the traffic desk frowned. We have light units there, but not a full perimeter. Then the perimeter is decorative, Maya said. Not protective. Briggs slammed a hand on the table. Enough. You don't get to walk into my command room and scare my officers with theories. Maya turned slowly. Chief, this stopped being theory when your bomb squad cleared City Hall. We don't know that means anything. It means your obvious target was empty. Or, it means we got there in time. No, Maya said. It means someone wanted your best people occupied, while the real device moved through a service corridor beneath Hall C. The room went silent again, but this silence had weight. People were listening now because fear had sharpened their attention. Callahan stepped closer to the map. Show me. Maya pointed to the downtown grid. The public entrance is here. Security screening here. Media check-in here. Everyone will watch these points. But the 2019 renovation added a lower service corridor connected to the loading dock. Your department's plan doesn't include it, because your floor plan is outdated. The traffic desk officer typed quickly. She's right. I've got a newer city permit file. Corridor exists. Briggs's face tightened. Maya continued. A white utility van was flagged near City Hall at 5:42 a.m. But the same plate was captured on a traffic camera. 17 minutes later, 2 blocks from the convention center. A detective shook his head. That's impossible with morning traffic. Unless the van at City Hall was a decoy, Maya said. Different vehicle. Cloned plate. Callahan looked to his team. Pull every camera on the convention center loading route. A SWAT officer moved immediately. Briggs saw control slipping and reached for the only tool he had trusted all morning. Intimidation. He stepped into Maya's space. You are done giving orders. Maya did not move. Step back. The room held its breath. Briggs lowered his voice. You don't tell me to step back. I just did. His hand shot out toward her arm. It was a bad decision made in public. Maya moved faster than anyone expected. She caught his wrist, turned her shoulder, shifted her weight, and used his own forward motion against him. There was no flourish, no rage, no wasted movement. 1 second, Briggs was reaching for her. The next, his knees buckled and his body hit the floor hard enough to rattle a coffee cup on the nearest desk. Gasps broke across the room. Maya released him immediately and stepped back. Briggs lay sprawled on the operations room floor, stunned, red-faced. One hand pressed against the tile as if the building itself had betrayed him. Maya looked down at him. I told you to step back, she said. No one laughed. No one moved. Callahan looked at Briggs, then at Maya, and then at the map. Agent William, he said, calm but urgent. What's our play? Maya turned away from the man on the floor and faced the city grid. Her voice was steady. We stop chasing what they wanted us to see, she said, and we move on the place they hoped we'd ignore. Behind her, Chief Briggs struggled to sit up. In front of her, Atlanta waited. Briggs was still on the floor when the room began to move without him. That was the part no one forgot later. For years, Chief Harold Briggs had been the voice that made people stand straighter, answer faster, and swallow whatever truth might cost them their careers. But now he sat on the tile with one hand braced beside him, his face flushed with shock, while every eye in the operations room shifted past him to Maya William. Commander James Callahan did not ask whether Briggs was all right. He had seen the reach. Everyone had. Agent William, Callahan said, take the board. Maya stepped to the front of the room with her damaged leather bag still hanging from one hand. The torn strap brushed against her coat. She set the bag on the table, placed her cracked encrypted phone beside it, and looked at the wall of maps and screens. Kill the City Hall priority, she said. Leave a visible presence there, but nothing more. I want the convention center perimeter treated as active threat ground. A lieutenant at the communications desk looked to Briggs, out of habit. Briggs tried to stand. You wait for my order. Callahan turned. Lieutenant, follow Agent William. The lieutenant hesitated only half a second. Yes, sir. That half second told Maya everything. The room had not become brave. Not yet. But it had become practical. And practical people could still save lives. Maya pointed to the downtown grid. First ring. Visible uniformed units at public entrances. Calm posture. No panic. We don't stampede elderly veterans and families because we were late. Second ring. Plainclothes evacuation teams inside. Use staff corridors, service exits, medical excuses, anything quiet. Third ring. SWAT moves on the loading dock and lower service corridor. Callahan nodded. My team can take the dock. No, Maya said. Your first team takes the corridor access from the east stairwell. The dock may be watched. If they expect a tactical response, they expect it there. A SWAT sergeant leaned over the map. East stairwell is narrow. That's why they won't expect you to use it. He studied her for a second, then nodded. Understood. Briggs finally got to his feet with the help of the table. His pride looked more injured than his body. This is insane. You're letting her run an operation based on guesses. Maya did not look at him. Pull up camera E17 from Peachtree and Baker. The traffic officer, a woman in her 40s named Denise Porter, typed quickly. A grainy image appeared on the large screen. A white utility van turning through morning traffic. Maya said, now camera E22. 12 minutes later, another image appeared. Same plate, different van. Denise leaned closer. The dent is missing. Callahan looked at her. What dent? Rear passenger panel. First van has damage. Second one doesn't. Denise's voice tightened. Cloned plate. Maya pointed to the second image. That van is heading toward the convention center's service zone. The room changed again. This time, belief entered it. Not comfort. Not certainty. Belief. Briggs stared at the screen as if it had betrayed him personally. A detective near the whiteboard said, "We missed that." Maya answered without cruelty. "You were meant to." Callahan grabbed his radio. "Command to all SWAT elements. Shift primary staging to Veterans Memorial Convention Center. Maintain low visibility. No sirens within 6 blocks." The radios came alive. Maya turned to Sergeant Miller. "How many officers do you trust to follow instructions quietly?" Miller blinked. No one had asked him that in years, like the answer mattered. 6, maybe 8. Do. Use them for interior evacuation. Older attendees first. Wheelchairs, walkers, oxygen tanks. Anyone who can't move quickly. Tell them there's a plumbing issue near Hall C. Miller nodded. "That'll work. Older folks will complain, but they'll move. For them, complaining is moving," Maya said. For the first time that morning, a small, brief smile crossed Miller's face. Then it was gone, because the screen changed. Denise looked up. "Agent William, we just got a new traffic hit. White van entered the convention center service lot 22 minutes ago." Callahan's voice dropped. "Still there?" Denise typed faster. "Camera angle doesn't show exit." Maya looked at the clock. 9 a.m. The memorial program would begin at 10. Doors were already open for veterans groups, volunteers, vendors, choir members, media crews, and city staff. The kind of people who arrived early because service had trained them to respect time. Maya thought of her father ironing his Marine jacket the night before Veterans Day, smoothing the sleeves with hands that had once carried a rifle and later carried grocery bags for widows at church. She heard him again, soft but certain. "When people gather to remember sacrifice, baby girl, you stand guard, even if nobody asked you to." "I need the convention center director on the line," Maya said. "Not security. The director." A young analyst called out. "Getting it." Briggs stepped closer, voice low. "You think this makes you look good?" Maya turned at last. "No. You think throwing me on the floor makes you somebody?" "No." His eyes were hot with humiliation. "Then what exactly do you think you're doing?" Maya looked at him the way she had looked at men under interrogation. Men with bombs in storage units. Men with blood under their fingernails and scripture in their mouths. Trying to keep people alive while you decide whether your pride is worth more than their lives. The words silenced him, not because they humbled him, because everyone heard them. The analyst raised a hand. "Convention Center Director is on speaker." A woman's worried voice filled the room. "This is Karen Whitlock. Who am I speaking with?" Maya stepped toward the phone. "Miss Whitlock, this is Special Agent Maya William with Federal Counterterrorism. I need you to listen carefully and not react loudly." There was a pause. "Is this about the memorial?" "Yes." "How many civilians are inside right now?" "Staff and early arrivals?" "Maybe 900. Veterans groups started coming in at 8:30. Some of them are in Hall A for coffee." Maya closed her eyes for half a breath. 900 already. "Do you have a scheduled sound check, plumbing inspection, or fire panel test you can use as cover?" "A fire panel test at 9:30, but we weren't going to." "You are now. Start moving people out of Hall C and the lower do not mention threat, bomb, police, or evacuation over a PA system." Karen's voice trembled. "Is there a bomb in my building?" Maya did not lie to civilians. When the truth could help them survive. There may be. And your calm right now may save lives. A long breath came through the speaker. Then Karen said, steadier, "Tell me what to do." Maya looked at Callahan. He was already moving his team toward the door. "Commander," she said, "I want eyes on that van before anyone opens it. No hero moves. If there's a device, it may be motion-triggered or command detonated." Callahan nodded. "You coming?" Briggs barked. "Absolutely not. She stays here." Maya picked up her damaged bag. Callahan looked at Briggs as if the man were speaking from another room. "She's coming." Briggs stepped in front of Maya. I said no. The room froze again, exhausted by him now. Maya looked down at the space between them, then back to his face. Chief, move. His jaw flexed. For a dangerous second, it seemed he might reach for her again. He did not. The memory of the floor was too recent. Slowly, bitterly, he stepped aside. Maya walked past him. As she reached the door, Sergeant Miller called after her. Agent William. She turned. He held up her repaired badge case. You dropped this earlier. Maya took it from him. Their fingers touched for one brief second. I should have helped in the lobby, he said. Yes, Maya replied. Then softer. Help now. Miller nodded. That was how the room began to change. Not all at once. Not with speeches. One person at a time, choosing the next right thing. Maya followed Callahan into the hallway. SWAT officers moved around her with disciplined urgency. Radios crackled. Boots struck tile. Outside, engines started. Behind them, Chief Briggs remained in the operations room, surrounded by maps he had misread and people who no longer looked to him first. For Maya, none of that mattered. Not the insult. Not the torn bag. Not the fall he had taken in front of his own officers. Only the clock mattered now. 11 a. 49 minutes until the memorial began. And somewhere beneath a hall filled with veterans, families, and folding chairs, a white van waited. The first SWAT vehicle rolled out of Atlanta Police Headquarters without sirens. That silence made it feel worse. Maya Williams sat in the back of the lead tactical SUV with Commander James Callahan beside her and two SWAT officers across from them. The city moved beyond the tinted windows, as if nothing terrible had placed its hand over the morning. Commuters waited at red lights. A man in a Braves cap carried coffee across a crosswalk. A grandmother stood at a bus stop holding a little boy's hand, her Sunday purse hooked over her wrist, even though it was not Sunday. Ordinary life always looked most fragile when danger was close. Callahan held a tablet on his knee. Convention Center Director has started quiet movement out of Hall C. She's using a fire panel inspection as cover. How many out? 200 so far. Slow going. A lot of older attendees. Maya nodded. Don't rush them, unless we have confirmation of a live device. Panic will hurt more people than patience. One of the SWAT officers, a broad man named Ruiz, glanced at her torn bag. Ma'am, you want us to get you a replacement for that? Maya looked down at the damaged leather in her lap. The broken strap lay across her hand. No, she said. It still carries what it needs to carry. Ruiz accepted that without comment. Callahan watched her for a moment. Briggs had no idea who you were. He didn't ask. That's going in the report. Report can wait. People like him count on that. Maya looked out the window. People like him count on everyone being too busy saving lives to name what they did wrong. Callahan did not answer right away. He was old enough to understand the sentence had been earned, not offered. Traffic thickened as they approached downtown. Ahead, the Veterans Memorial Convention Center rose from the blocks around it. A wide, modern building of glass, stone, and steel. American flags lined the front plaza. Banners hung from the entrance. Honoring service. Remembering sacrifice. Elderly men in veteran caps walked carefully along the sidewalk. Women in red, white, and blue scarves guided grandchildren by the hand. Volunteers carried trays of coffee and bottled water through side doors. Maya's chest tightened, not from fear, from arithmetic. Every person was a life. Every life had branches. Children, spouses, old friends, dogs waiting at home, pill bottles on kitchen counters, framed photographs on mantels, unfinished apologies, Sunday plans. A casualty report never showed any of that. It only counted the bodies after the world had failed to protect them. Callahan's radio cracked. Command, this is Alpha 2. We have visual on service lot. White utility van present. Rear doors closed. No driver visible. Maya leaned toward the radio. Do not approach yet. Establish line of sight from cover. Check for secondary observers. Callahan repeated the order. The SUV turned down a side street and stopped 2 blocks from the convention center. Maya stepped out into the heat. The air smelled of asphalt, exhaust, and food trucks setting up early near the plaza. A church choir was rehearsing somewhere inside the building, faint voices rising through the morning. It was the kind of sound that made people believe the world could still be good. Maya adjusted the bag under her arm and followed Callahan toward a temporary command post near a parking structure. Officers were setting up behind unmarked vehicles. No flashing lights, no loud commands, just controlled urgency, which was the only kind Maya trusted. A bomb squad captain approached, helmet tucked under one arm. "Captain Ellis, we've got the van in the service lot. Can't confirm device from outside," Maya asked. "Any heat signature? Something in the cargo area. Could be equipment. Could be nothing." "It's not nothing," she said. Ellis studied her face and did not argue. "We can send the robot." "From which angle?" "South side." Maya looked at the map on the tablet. "No. If they're watching the dock, south side is exposed. Send it from the maintenance ramp. Lower profile. Slower, but safer." Ellis looked at Callahan. Callahan said, "You heard her." Ellis nodded and moved. A voice came from behind them. "Agent William?" Maya turned. Karen Whitlock, the convention center director, approached with a radio in one hand, and fear pressed tightly behind professional composure. She was a white woman in her early 60s. Short silver hair, navy blazer, sensible shoes. The kind of woman who had probably run school fundraisers, city galas, storm shelters, and funeral receptions with the same clipboard and the same stubborn belief that order could hold grief back for a while. "I've moved Hall C vendors to the east loading area," Karen said. "Veterans seated near the back are being told there's a ventilation issue. Some of them are refusing to leave until they finish their coffee." Maya almost smiled. "Of course they are. One gentleman told me he survived Kisan and wasn't afraid of bad air." "What did you tell him?" "I told him his wife called and said if he didn't move, she'd come down here herself." Maya looked at her. "Good work." Karen's eyes softened for half a second, grateful to be seen. "How bad is this?" Maya did not soften the truth. "Bad enough that calm matters." Karen nodded once. "Then I'll stay calm." Before Maya could answer, Callahan's radio came alive again. "Robot is moving. 30 seconds to visual." Everyone turned toward the monitor on the folding table. The feed shook slightly as the bomb squad robot rolled along the maintenance ramp. Concrete walls, yellow safety posts, a dripping pipe. Then the white van appeared on screen. The license plate matched. The rear doors were sealed with a heavy padlock. Maya leaned closer. Zoom under the chassis. The image shifted. Captain Ellis, now at the monitor, muttered, "Wiring." A thin black line ran from beneath the van toward the service corridor wall. Callahan's jaw tightened. "Command detonation?" Maya shook her head slowly. "Maybe. Or a trigger line," Ellis said. "If that line runs into the building, we've got a bigger problem." Maya looked toward the convention center. Hall C sits above that corridor. The choir inside continued singing faintly, unaware of the wire beneath them. Then Denise Porter's voice came over the radio from police headquarters. "Agent William, we pulled building permits. There's an electrical access closet connected to that wall. It feeds emergency lighting for Hall C and the main stage." Maya closed her eyes for 1 second. A device in the van. A line into emergency lighting. A crowd gathered under patriotic banners. If the blast did not kill enough, darkness and panic would. Callahan said, "We need to evacuate faster." Maya opened her eyes. "Not through the main exits. If they're watching crowd movement, a full evacuation may trigger detonation. So what's the play? Staggered relocation. Move people from Hall C into Hall A under the fire panel excuse, then out through the north doors in groups of 20. Keep music playing. Keep announcements normal. Nobody runs." Karen was already lifting her radio. Maya touched her arm. "Miss Whitlock, if anyone asks, the mayor is delayed and seating is being reorganized for camera angles." Karen gave a grim little nod. "People will believe that." "People always believe delays when politicians are involved," Callahan said. For the first time that morning, 2 officers laughed quietly. It was small, but it released something human into the fear. Then the monitor flickered. The robot camera blurred, cleared, then blurred again. Ellis stiffened. "Signal interference." Maya's head turned toward the parking structure across the street. Someone is jamming. Callahan followed her gaze. You think they're nearby? They want to watch the response. Ruiz lifted binoculars. Upper level, gray sedan. Driver inside. Window cracked. Maya looked once. Don't spook him. Callahan spoke into his radio. Bravo team. Eyes on gray sedan. Parking structure upper level. Covert approach. No engagement unless he moves. Maya's phone vibrated in her damaged bag. She pulled it out. The cracked screen showed an encrypted message from an unknown relay. One sentence. You should have stayed invisible. Maya stared at it. Callahan saw her face. What is it? She turned the phone so he could read it. His expression changed. They know you're here. Maya slipped the phone back into the bag. No. They knew before I got here. The difference settled over them. This was not just a threat. It was a trap with her name already written into it. Across the street, elderly veterans continued moving slowly through the doors, some grumbling, some leaning on canes, some holding the elbows of wives who had spent lifetimes walking beside them. Maya watched them and felt the 6 names in her bag like a hand against her ribs. Not again. Callahan's radio crackled. Bravo team in position. Gray sedan driver is on a phone, awaiting instruction. Maya looked at the convention center, then at the van on the monitor, then at the parking structure. Commander, she said, we have 2 missions now. Device and spotter. Device, spotter. And whoever inside the system told him I was coming. Callahan's face hardened. Inside the system? Maya nodded. This operation has an insider. He looked back toward the distant police headquarters, where Briggs was probably still trying to recover his pride. Briggs? Callahan asked. Maya watched the flags move gently in the morning air. No, she said. Briggs is arrogant. This is disciplined. Then who? Maya did not answer immediately, because somewhere behind all of this was a mind patient enough to use prejudice as camouflage, local pride as a delay tactic, and a memorial full of Finally, she said, someone they trust. At 9:24 a.m., the first section of Hall C began to empty. At 9:25, the robot lost signal completely. And at 9:26, the white van's rear lights blinked once, though no one was inside. The rear lights blinked once. No engine sound followed. No driver appeared. The white van remained still in the service lot, quiet under the morning sun. But everyone at the command post understood that stillness had changed. Captain Ellis leaned toward the dead robot monitor. That was remote activation. Maya Williams stared at the frozen screen. Not activation. A handshake. Callahan looked at her. Meaning? Someone just checked whether the device could still receive a signal. Ellis's face tightened. Then they can detonate it. If they have line of sight or a relay close enough, Maya said. Find me the relay. Ruiz's voice came over the radio from the parking structure. Bravo team has eyes on the gray sedan. Driver is male, maybe 40s. Ball cap, sunglasses. Still on the phone. No visible weapon. Maya picked up the radio. Do not approach. Repeat, do not approach. If he is the spotter, he may be bait. There was a brief pause. Copy. Karen Whitlock stood beside the folding table, pale but steady. We've moved about 400 people out of Hall C. Another 300 are still inside or nearby. Some of the veterans don't want to leave their seats. Maya turned to her. Tell them, the first 100 people moved are being photographed with the honor guard near the north entrance. Karen blinked. That will work. Use pride. Don't fight it. Karen nodded and lifted her radio. All floor volunteers. Redirect remaining Hall C attendees to north entrance for honor guard photos. Keep your voices calm. Smile like you mean it. Callahan gave Maya a brief look. You've done crowd work before. I've done human nature. The words came out quieter than she intended. For a moment, Maya saw another crowd in another city years earlier. A market street. Plastic chairs outside a tea shop. A boy running with bread in his hands. The radio warning that came too late. The blast that erased the street and left behind a silence so complete she could hear her own breathing like it belonged to someone else. She pressed the memory down. Not now. At the folding table, Denise Porter's voice came through the open channel from headquarters. Agent William, I'm sending updated building schematics. There's a maintenance repeater system installed under Hall C. It boosts emergency radio inside the lower level. Maya looked up sharply. Who had access to that system? Convention center maintenance, city emergency management, police command staff, and vendor contractors approved for the event. Callahan heard it too. Plenty of people. Too many, Maya said. But not random. This was planned by someone who knew what would be overlooked. Ellis pointed to the schematic on the tablet. If that repeater is compromised, it could carry the detonation signal through the building. Or jam our attempt to block it, Maya said. Callahan looked toward the service lot. Can bomb squad cut the external wire? Ellis shook his head. Not blind. If it's a trigger line, cutting it could close the circuit. Maya studied the map. Then we don't touch the wire. We kill the relay. Callahan's radio crackled. Bravo team to command. Gray sedan driver is moving. He just ended the call. Maya lifted the radio. Direction? Still in vehicle. Looking toward the service lot. Wait. He's reaching down. Callahan's hand moved to his sidearm, though the man was blocks away. Bravo, hold! Maya's voice stayed calm. Ruiz. Describe his right hand. A faint rustle. Can't see clearly. He's got something small. Maybe a key fob. Maybe a phone. Maya looked at Ellis. Rear lights blinked once when the signal hit. Vehicle system tied into receiver. Ellis nodded grimly. Could be using a modified remote start circuit. Maya keyed the radio. Bravo. If he raises that device toward the convention center, take the shot only if you have a clean line and no civilians behind him. Callahan looked at her. You're authorizing lethal force? I'm authorizing protection of 900 civilians. The radio hissed. Then Ruiz said, He's not raising it. He's getting out. On the plaza, a group of older veterans emerged slowly from the north doors, guided by volunteers in blue vests. Some looked annoyed. Some looked amused. One man in a wheelchair wore a Korean war cap and held a tiny American flag in his lap. His wife walked beside him with one hand on his shoulder. Maya watched them, and something inside her tightened again. Callahan followed her gaze. We'll get them out. We have to. Not alone. She looked at him. He kept his eyes on the building. Whatever Briggs did back there, whatever this city missed, you're not carrying this by yourself. Maya did not answer. People often said that before the worst moment. Afterward, they found distance. Distance was how survivors protected themselves from someone else's grief. Ruiz came back on. Gray sedan driver walking toward stairwell. Bravo. 2 is shadowing. He left the car door unlocked. Maya said, Do not touch the car yet. Watch for a second person. Denise interrupted from headquarters. Agent William, I have a hit on the van's service pass. It was approved by Deputy Chief Richard Vale's office. Callahan's head turned slowly. Maya did not move. The name landed with the quiet force of a door locking. Callahan said, Vale? Denise continued. The pass was processed yesterday at 4:12 p.m. Emergency vendor clearance. Electrical maintenance. Ellis frowned. Who's Vale? Callahan's voice was flat. Deputy Chief Richard Vale. 30 years Atlanta PD. Runs interagency coordination for major events. Karen Whitlock looked stunned. Deputy Chief Vale was at our security walkthrough yesterday. He told us City Hall was the main concern. Maya looked at the convention center entrance, then the service lot, then the parking structure. Pieces moved into place with the cold precision she hated because it usually meant the truth had been waiting there all along. Vale gave the center a lighter perimeter, she said. He kept attention on City Hall. He had access to the updated schematics, vendor clearance, police response plan, and my arrival notification. Callahan's face hardened. You're saying a deputy chief helped place a bomb at a veterans memorial. I'm saying his office put that van where it is. Callahan grabbed his phone. I'll call headquarters. No, Maya said. He stopped. If Vale is inside the system, anything official alerts him. We keep this tight. Callahan's jaw worked once. Briggs needs to know. Briggs will react loudly. Vale will hear it before we finish the sentence. Callahan did not like it, but he understood it. Maya turned to Karen. How long to clear Hall C? 10 minutes if people cooperate. 15 if they act like old soldiers. They'll act like old soldiers, Callahan muttered. Maya said, then plan for 15 and pray for 10. Suddenly, Ruiz's voice broke in, low and urgent. Command. Bravo 2 has eyes inside the gray sedan. There's a laptop open on the passenger seat. Screen shows what looks like a live feed. Maya's eyes narrowed. Live feed of what? A pause. Hall C. Karen covered her mouth. Callahan's expression darkened. He can see the crowd. Ruiz continued. Also seeing a signal meter. Maybe connected to the van. Maya lifted the radio. Bravo. Take the driver quietly. No shout, no chase. Hands controlled first. Do not let him touch pockets, phone, watch, belt, anything. Copy. The next second stretched. Maya could hear traffic, distant voices, the soft flap of flags in the heat. She could hear the choir inside shift into another song, something old and patriotic, voices of men and women who had probably sung at Memorial Day services for decades. Then the radio cracked with a grunt, a scuffle, and Ruiz's voice. Driver secured. Device recovered. No detonation. Repeat. No detonation. No one celebrated. Not yet. Maya said. Laptop? Active. Sending image now. Denise's voice came from headquarters. Receiving feed. A second later, the laptop image appeared on the command monitor. Hall C from above. Rows of chairs. Veterans moving slowly. Volunteers guiding them. And in the bottom corner of the feed, a timestamp. Maya leaned in. That camera angle, she said. It's not from the convention center security system. Karen looked closer. No, that's from the media platform. Callahan understood first. Press camera, Maya said. Or something dressed like one. Ellis cursed under his breath. There's a second device. The white van had been the threat they were meant to find. The camera feed was the threat they were meant to miss. Maya looked at the monitor as Hall C continued to empty too slowly. Get me eyes on the media platform, she said. Callahan raised his radio. All units, new priority. Hall C, media platform. Possible secondary device. Move quiet. Maya picked up her damaged bag and started toward the convention center. Callahan caught her arm gently. Where are you going? She looked at his hand, and he released her immediately. Inside, she said. Maya, we have teams for that. No, she said, watching the live feed of old men, wives, volunteers, and flags. We have minutes for that. At 9:31 a. Maya. William crossed the street toward the Veterans Memorial Convention Center, carrying a torn leather bag and walking straight into the trap someone had built for her. Maya reached the convention center's north entrance at 9:32 a. Moving against a stream of elderly veterans, volunteers, and families who believed they were being shifted for photographs and seating adjustments. A white-haired man in a wheelchair grumbled as two volunteers pushed him toward the plaza. I had a good seat in there. His wife walked beside him, gripping a small American flag. Walter, you complained about that seat for 20 minutes. That doesn't mean I wanted to lose it. Maya heard it and felt, against all the danger pressing in, a brief ache of tenderness. This was America too. Not speeches, not marble buildings, just old couples arguing gently because they had survived enough years together to make irritation sound like love. Karen Whitlock met Maya just inside the doors, breathless but composed. Hall C is about halfway cleared. We're moving the slower groups now. Any media crews still inside? 3 local stations, 1 national cable crew, and a veterans documentary team. They're on the platform at the rear. Maya looked down the wide corridor toward Hall C. Pull them out quietly. I tried. One producer said they have clearance from Deputy Chief Vale's office to stay until the mayor arrives. Callahan, coming in behind Maya with 2 SWAT officers, stopped cold. Vale again. Maya's face did not change, but her eyes did. Where is that producer? Karen pointed. Inside Hall C. Red blazer. She's been difficult all morning. Difficult may save her if she listens now, Maya said. They moved through the corridor without running. Running frightened people. Running told older men with military training that something was wrong, and frightened soldiers, even old ones with canes, did not always follow instructions. They looked for the threat. They tried to help. They moved toward the thing everyone else moved away from. Maya knew that kind of courage. She also knew how often it got people killed. As she walked, a memory rose without permission. A desert road, a convoy, 6 names in her pocket, a warning she had given twice and softened the 3rd time because command told her she was seeing ghosts. Then the lead vehicle lifted from the earth in a flash of white heat, and the radio filled with voices that never fully left her. I still hear their names. She blinked once and returned to the corridor. Callahan kept pace beside her. You with me? Yes. You went somewhere. I came back. He accepted that. Good commanders knew when not to dig into a wound during battle. Hall C opened ahead of them, wide and bright, with rows of chairs facing a stage draped in flags. A choir stood near the front, still singing softly while volunteers redirected people aisle by aisle. The sound was beautiful and unbearable. Silver-haired veterans moved slowly, some leaning on walkers, some refusing help until their wives gave them the look only a wife of 40 years could give. At the rear of the hall, the media platform rose 3 feet above the floor. Cameras stood on tripods. Cables ran in black lines across taped-down mats. A woman in a red blazer argued with a young volunteer near the steps. I already told you, the woman said. We have authorization to remain in position. If the mayor walks in and we're not live ready, that's on you. Maya approached. Ma'am, I need you to step down from the platform. The producer turned, irritated. And you are? Federal counterterrorism. That changed her expression, but not enough. I was told this was a fire panel issue. It is now a federal issue. The woman's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at Callahan's tactical vest and the 2 SWAT officers behind him. Oh my God. Maya lowered her voice. Do not say that loudly. Get your crew and leave through the north corridor. No phones, no live shots. No questions until you are outside. The producer swallowed. Is there a bomb? Maya looked at the camera platform. There may be more than one. That did it. The producer turned sharply. Pack nothing. Move now. One cameraman began reaching for his equipment. But the camera, leave it, Maya said. He looked offended, then terrified when he saw her face. He stepped away. Maya climbed onto the platform carefully. Callahan followed. The equipment looked ordinary at first glance. 2 broadcast cameras, a lighting stand, a sound case, a black hard-shell equipment trunk, coiled cables, backup battery packs. Ordinary was the costume Danger wore when it wanted time. Maya crouched near the trunk. Callahan said, You see something? The cable routing is wrong. He looked. How? Media crews hate messy cable because people trip and sue. This line runs clean until here, then disappears under the platform. Callahan called softly into his radio. Ellis, we need bomb tech inside Hall C media platform. Possible secondary. Ellis answered. 2 minutes out. Maya shook her head. We may not have 2. She opened her bag and removed a small flashlight from the side pocket. The torn leather gaped, but still held. She angled the light under the platform. A small black box was mounted beneath the wooden support frame. No markings, no blinking lights. Clean installation. Too clean. Callahan saw it. Device? Receiver or relay? Can you tell if it's armed? Not from here. A radio burst came from Ruiz outside. Command. The detained spotter had a dead man app open. We froze the phone, but if signal drops or timer completes, unknown consequence. Maya looked toward the old veterans still moving out of the hall. Too many remained. Too slow. Too human. Callahan's jaw tightened. We need to clear the room now. No stampede, Maya said. Maya, no stampede, she repeated. If there's a pressure-triggered crowd plan, panic is part of the bomb. He held her gaze, then keyed his radio. All interior teams, increase movement but keep cover story. Volunteers, music stays on. No shouting. Maya looked back under the platform. The black box had a narrow antenna and a fiber line running toward the camera riser. Not explosive. Control architecture. Her mind moved through the geometry. Van outside. Relay under platform. Camera feed from above. Spotter with dead man app. Veil's clearance. The target was not just the crowd. It was the ceremony, the symbolism, the humiliation of first responders and veterans on live television. They want this broadcast, she said. Callahan looked at the cameras. They wanted the country watching. Yes. And if the broadcast feed is part of the trigger? Maya's hand stilled. A cold memory rose. 6 years ago, another device had waited for a signal hidden inside something harmless. They had cut the wrong line because the schematics had been altered. 6 people died in the space between confidence and correction. Afterward, Maya had written their names on paper because official reports turned people into numbers too quickly. I still hear their names, Callahan said quietly. Maya, she exhaled. Do not cut power to the cameras. Why? Because loss of broadcast signal may trigger the dead man sequence. The producer, standing below the platform now, whispered, Our van outside is still transmitting. Maya turned to her. Where? North Media Row. White satellite truck. Callahan cursed softly. Another white vehicle. Maya asked. Who approved your parking location? The producer looked sick. Deputy Chief Vale's office. Maya stood. The trap widened. Callahan keyed his radio. Exterior teams, locate all media trucks. Do not power down. Do not disconnect. Ellis came through the side entrance with a bomb tech carrying equipment. He climbed onto the platform, saw Maya's face, and did not waste time. Show me. Maya pointed beneath the frame. Relay box. Unknown linkage to van device and media feed. Treat all power loss as potential trigger. Ellis slid down, looked under, and went very still. You were right to wait. How bad? Bad? Professional. This isn't garage built. Callahan's radio cracked again. Headquarters to Callahan. Chief Briggs is demanding full status. He says Deputy Chief Vale just arrived at command and wants control transferred back to APD. Maya looked at Callahan. Callahan looked back. There it was. Not proof. Not yet. But the shape of betrayal entering the room wearing a familiar badge. Maya lifted the radio herself. Do not transfer control. Do not brief Vale. Keep him in the building if you can. But do not confront him. A pause. Then Denise Porter's voice answered, tense. Copy, Agent William. Callahan leaned closer. If Vale knows we found the relay, he may detonate. Maya looked across Hall C. The last rows of veterans were finally standing. One old man turned toward the stage and saluted the flag before allowing his daughter to guide him out. Her throat tightened. Then we don't let him know, she said. And we don't give him the ceremony he came to destroy. Ellis looked up from under the platform. Agent William, I can isolate the relay, but I need 3 minutes of stable signal. Maya checked the clock. 9 first, 38%. 3 minutes was nothing. 3 minutes was forever. She stepped off the platform and looked at Callahan. Keep the broadcast alive. Keep the crowd moving. Keep Vale blind. Callahan nodded. And you? Maya picked up her torn leather bag. I'm going to find out who else inside this building is helping him. Behind her, the choir reached the final line of an old hymn, their voices trembling but steady. And beneath the platform, hidden in plain sight, the second device waited for someone to make the wrong move. Maya left Hall C through a side corridor marked Staff Only, moving fast enough to matter but not fast enough to alarm the volunteers guiding veterans toward the north exit. Behind her, the choir kept singing. That sound followed her down the hallway, softer with every step, until it became less like music and more like memory. Callahan's voice came through her earpiece. Ellis is working the relay. Crowd movement is holding. No panic. Good, Maya said. Headquarters says Vale is asking for you by name. Maya slowed only slightly. Then he knows I'm not where he wants me to be. He's still at the station. For now. She turned a corner into a service corridor lined with gray doors, electrical panels, mop buckets, and stacked folding chairs. It smelled of floor wax and old concrete. Places like this were the veins of public buildings. Guests never saw them, but everything important moved through them. Food, power, staff, trash, secrets. Maya stopped beside a maintenance map, bolted to the wall, and studied it. Karen Whitlock hurried up behind her, breathing hard. Agent William, I pulled our access logs like you asked. 3 outside vendors entered the lower level before 7 this morning. Electrical, staging, and media. Name is? Karen handed her a tablet. 2 checked out. 1 hasn't. Maya looked at the screen. Daniel Price, temporary electrical contractor. I don't know him, Karen said. His clearance came through the police liaison packet. Vale's office. Karen's mouth tightened. Yes. Maya tapped the entry time. 6:41 a.m. Too early for regular staff to notice. Late enough that security would be busy with event setup. Where would an electrical contractor go from here? Karen pointed down the corridor. Lower utility room. Past the freight elevator. Then left. Maya keyed her radio. Callahan. I have a missing contractor tied to Vale's clearance. Possible inside asset at lower utility room. I'm moving. Hold position. I'm sending a team. No time. Maya. She stopped at the freight elevator and looked at the steel doors. If he's monitoring the relay, Ellis has less than 3 minutes. If he sees the isolation, he may trigger manually. A pause. Then Callahan said, Ruiz is 60 seconds behind you. Don't engage alone. Maya did not promise. The elevator was too slow and too exposed. She took the stairwell. As she descended, the building changed. The polished public face disappeared. The lower level was concrete, pipes, humming ventilation, and harsh fluorescent light. Somewhere above her, hundreds of people were being moved with smiles and polite lies. Down here, the truth sounded like electricity. Maya reached the landing and paused. She listened. A faint metallic click came from the left. Not machinery. A tool. She moved toward it, passing a row of storage cages and a bulletin board covered with faded safety notices. At the end of the corridor, the utility room door stood open 3 inches. Maya drew her sidearm. Not dramatically. Not eagerly, like a woman removing a necessary instrument. Federal agent, she called softly. Step out, with your hands visible. The clicking stopped. For 1 second, nothing moved. Then a man's voice answered from inside. I'm just maintenance. Then you know how to follow instructions. I got paperwork. Hands first, paperwork later. A shadow shifted behind the door. Maya angled herself away from the opening. Daniel Price. Step out now. The silence changed. That was all the warning she got. The door flew open, and a man lunged out, not toward her but toward the wall panel beside him. In his right hand was a small black transmitter. Maya fired once. The shot cracked through the lower level. The transmitter shattered from his hand. He screamed and fell back against the doorframe, clutching bleeding fingers. Maya moved in, kicked the broken device away, and pinned him to the wall with her weapon-trained center mass. Do not make me correct your next mistake, she said. The man froze. He was not maintenance. Not really. Too fit, too controlled beneath the pain. His eyes not wide enough for an innocent man surprised by violence. He wore a contractor's vest, but the boots were wrong. Lightweight, tactical, expensive. Ruiz arrived seconds later with 2 SWAT officers. Clear? Maya nodded toward the suspect. Cuff him. Watch his left sleeve. Ruiz grabbed the man's wrist and found a backup switch taped under the cuff. Got it. The suspect looked at Maya with hatred sharpened by recognition. You should have stayed in the lobby. Maya's face remained still. Who told you I was there? He smiled through clenched teeth. Everybody. Saw you there. Ruiz tightened the cuffs. The man winced. Maya stepped into the utility room. The space was crowded with panels, cables, and a folding chair set in front of an open laptop. On the screen was a live status diagram. Van receiver, media relay, broadcast feed, emergency lighting system. 3 green indicators, 1 yellow. Ellis's voice came through the radio. Agent William, I'm inside the relay housing. Signal is fluctuating. Maya looked at the laptop. The yellow indicator pulsed beside media platform. He can see you, she said. The utility room laptop is monitoring your isolation. Ellis went still over the radio. Can you disable it? Not yet. The cuffed man laughed softly. Touch the wrong key, and Hall C becomes a memorial for real. Ruiz shoved him against the wall. Shut up. Maya stared at the screen. She did not need his warning. The system was built with cruelty and patience. A dead man structure. A false target outside. A secondary relay under the media platform. A monitor in the utility room. Someone had planned not just an explosion, but a lesson. Make first responders rush. Make them cut. Make them kill the people they came to save. Maya felt the 6 names in her bag. 6 people who had died because the wrong assumption moved faster than the truth. Not again. Callahan, she said. I have the inside control station. Suspect secured. I need Denise Porter on this feed now. Denise answered from headquarters. I'm here. I'm sending you a photo of the laptop screen. Tell me what system this interface resembles. Maya snapped the image with her cracked phone and sent it. While she waited, the suspect leaned his head back against the wall. Vale said you were good. Maya looked at him. Vale talks too much. He said you'd hesitate because of Dallas. The room went colder. Ruiz glanced at her. Dallas? Maya did not look away from the suspect. Dallas had not been in any public report. Dallas was the name people used inside closed rooms for the failed operation that ended her field command. The one that left 6 agents dead and Maya alive with names she could not put down. The suspect smiled because he saw he had touched something. Maya stepped closer. You don't know those people well enough to use them. I know they died after you gave the order. Ruiz's grip tightened. Ma'am? Maya lifted one hand slightly, stopping him. Her voice was quiet. They died because someone inside the operation changed the wiring schematic after my team entered. Vale was not supposed to know that detail. The suspect's smile faded a fraction. There. A crack. Denise came back over the radio. Agent William. That interface is piggybacking on the convention center's emergency lighting controller. If you shut it down, it may trigger battery backup and send a pulse through the line. Maya said, Can we freeze the state? Maybe, if we loop the controller into maintenance test mode. How long? 2 minutes. Ellis cut in. I have maybe 90 seconds before this relay cycles. Callahan's voice followed. Crowd count in Hall C is down to 120 and moving. Maya looked at the laptop, then at the suspect, then at the panel beside her. The room seemed to narrow into one clean line of decision. Denise, Maya said, walk me through test mode. The suspect laughed again, but this time, there was fear inside it. You'll kill them. Maya leaned over the keyboard. No, I'm done letting men like you hide behind warnings. Denise spoke fast. Open admin panel. Don't use shutdown. Select diagnostics. Then manual maintenance loop. Maya's fingers moved. The screen flashed red. The suspect whispered, Wrong move. Maya did not stop. Above her, in Hall C, the last veterans were being guided toward safety. Beneath the media platform, Ellis waited with his hands on a device that could turn a room of memories into smoke. At headquarters, Vale was asking for Maya by name, and in the utility room, the past tried one more time to make her hesitate. She pressed enter. For one long second, every indicator on the laptop went black. Then, one by one, they returned blue. Denise exhaled over the radio. Loop. Established. Ellis said. Relay stable. I can isolate. Callahan's voice came next, low and steady. Hall C is almost clear. Maya looked at the suspect. His confidence was gone. She picked up her damaged leather bag from the floor and slung the broken strap across her forearm. Tell Vale, she said. I'm not invisible anymore. At 9:41 a.m., Ellis began disabling the media relay. And at Atlanta Police Headquarters, Deputy Chief Richard Vale realized his trap had started to fail. At 9:42 a.m., the operations room at Atlanta Police Headquarters no longer belonged to Chief Harold Briggs. He was still there, standing near the main table with his jaw clenched and one hand pressed against his bruised side, but the room had stopped orbiting him. Officers answered Denise Porter first. Analysts looked to Sergeant Miller before moving updates across the board. Every few seconds, Commander Callahan's voice came through the speakers from the convention center, and each time it did, No one asked Briggs for permission to respond. That was how authority truly ended. Not with a speech, but with people quietly realizing they could do the right thing without waiting for the wrong man. Deputy Chief Richard Vale stood near the rear of the room, watching it happen. He was 61, lean, silver-haired, and dignified in a way that had earned trust for decades. His uniform was immaculate. His face carried the calm concern of a senior officer who had seen too much tragedy and still showed up early. Men opened doors for him. Younger officers straightened when he entered. Civilians thanked him in grocery stores. Reporters called him a steady hand. Maya William had not yet seen him face to face that morning, but his name had already appeared everywhere danger had been allowed to breathe. Vale glanced at the large screen showing the convention center grid. Why is SWAT inside Hall C? Denise Porter looked up from her console. Commander Callahan shifted teams after Agent William identified a secondary relay. Vale's expression did not change, but something behind his eyes sharpened. Agent William identified it? Yes, sir. And where is Agent William now? Before Denise could answer, Briggs stepped in. That's what I want to know. She assaulted me, took over my operation, and now nobody in my own building seems to remember chain of command. Vale turned toward Briggs with practiced sympathy. Harold, I understand you're upset. Upset? Briggs snapped. She threw me on the floor in front of my people. Miller spoke from the side of the room. After you grabbed her, Chief. Briggs rounded on him. You keep forgetting who you work for. Miller's face was pale, but he did not look down this time. No, sir. I think I'm remembering who the public expects us to work for. The room went quiet. Vale watched Miller with mild interest, as if seeing him for the first time. Sergeant, emotions are high. Let's be careful with our words. Miller looked at him. Yes, Deputy Chief. That's what I'm trying to do. Denise's headset crackled. She pressed one hand to it. Relay isolation in progress. Bomb tech reports stable signal. Hall C evacuation down to 37 civilians. A small breath moved through the room. 37. Not safe yet, but closer. Vale stepped toward Denise's console. Open a channel to Callahan. Denise hesitated. Commander asked that communications remain limited. I am Deputy Chief of this department. Yes, sir. But this is under federal counterterrorism response now. Vale's voice stayed pleasant. Open the channel. Denise did not move. Briggs stared at her. You heard him. Denise looked at the screen where Maya's last instructions were still typed in the command log. Do not brief Vale. Do not transfer control. Keep him contained. She had worked dispatch for 22 years. She had talked officers through shootings, lost children, domestic calls, heart attacks, and the kind of nights when the city seemed to break into pieces all at once. She was 51 years old, divorced, with a mother in assisted living, and 2 sons who still called when their cars made strange noises. She did not consider herself brave. She considered herself tired. But tired women had carried plenty of truth through this country. No, sir, she said. Briggs looked stunned. Excuse me? Denise kept her eyes on the console. I said no. Vale's expression cooled by 1 degree. On whose authority? A voice answered from the speaker before Denise could. Maya Williams. Everyone turned. Maya had entered the operations channel from the lower utility room. Her voice came through clear, controlled, and close enough to feel present. Vale looked at the speaker. Maya continued. Deputy Chief Vale, step away from the communications desk. The room froze. Vale smiled faintly. Agent William, I don't believe we've been properly introduced. No, but I've been reading your work all morning. I'm sure I don't know what that means. It means your office approved the service pass for the white utility van. Your office cleared the media platform crew. Your office directed police attention to City Hall using an outdated threat matrix. Your office had access to my arrival notice before I reached the building. Briggs looked from Vale to the speaker. Richard? Vale's smile remained, but his eyes did not. These are serious accusations to make over an open channel. It's not open, Maya said. Denise locked it down 3 minutes ago. Denise blinked. She had not known Maya noticed that. Then, she sat a little straighter. Vale glanced at her. Did she? Denise said nothing. Maya's voice continued. The contractor in the convention center utility room is in custody. He confirmed your name before he understood how much he had given away. That was not entirely true. Not yet. But suspects were not the only people who could be pressured with silence. Vale's face gave almost nothing. Almost. His left hand lowered slowly toward his belt. Miller saw it. Deputy Chief, keep your hands visible. Briggs stared at Miller in disbelief. Have you lost your mind? No, Miller said. I think I found it late. 2 officers near the door shifted. One placed his hand near his holster. The other looked terrified but stayed where he was. Vale raised both hands slightly, palms open, a picture of wounded dignity. This is absurd. Harold, surely you see what's happening. A federal agent mishandled a tense situation, embarrassed you, and now she needs a villain to justify her overreach. Briggs wanted to believe him. Maya could hear it in the silence. Briggs wanted badly to return to a world where his humiliation was the main event. But the room had seen too much. Denise spoke into her headset. Agent William. Ellis reports relay isolated. Maya answered. Good. Keep the media feed alive until Bomb Squad confirms the van device is independent. Callahan came through next. Hall C is clear. Repeat. Hall C is clear. For the first time all morning, the room allowed itself to breathe. Miller closed his eyes for half a second. Denise covered her mouth. Even Briggs looked shaken, though whether by relief or by the knowledge that Maya had been right, no one could tell. Vale lowered his hand slightly. If Hall C is clear, then perhaps we can all calm down and conduct this professionally. Maya's voice turned colder. No one leaves that room. Vale looked at the door. A young officer blocked it. Nervous but firm. Briggs whispered, Richard, tell me this isn't real. Vale looked at him then, and for a moment the mask slipped enough to reveal contempt. Not panic, not regret. Contempt for a man he had used all morning, because Briggs's prejudice was predictable, loud, and useful. You made it easy, Harold, Vale said softly. Briggs's face drained. The sentence wounded him more deeply than Maya ever could have, because it came from someone he respected. Miller lifted his radio. Secured Deputy Chief Vale. 2 officers moved forward. Vale's hand flashed toward his belt. Miller shouted, Gun! The room exploded into motion. Vale did not draw a pistol. He drew a small black device, no larger than a car remote. His thumb found the top button before the nearest officer reached him. Denise screamed, He's got a trigger! Maya heard it through the channel. Drop him, she ordered. A shot cracked inside headquarters. Then, another. Vale's device skidded across the floor, spinning beneath the conference table. Vale fell against the wall, clutching his forearm, blood darkening his sleeve. Miller stood 10 feet away with his weapon raised, both hands trembling, smoke lifting faintly from the barrel. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Denise shouted into the channel, Device secured. Vale is down but alive. Maya's answer came instantly. Do not touch the trigger. Photograph it. Bag it inside. Signal shield, if available. Miller, hold the room. Miller swallowed. Copy. Briggs stood motionless, staring at Vale like a man watching 30 years of certainty rot in front of him. Vale laughed once, breathless and bitter. You still think you won? Miller kept the gun trained on him. I think you need to shut up. Vale looked toward the speaker. Maya William, still trying to save everyone. Maya did not answer. Vale smiled through pain. Did you tell them about Dallas? The room went quiet again. Briggs slowly looked at the speaker. Maya's voice came after a pause, steady but lower. Dallas is why I know men like you always build a second failure point. Vale's smile faded. At the convention center, Maya stood in the lower utility room, staring at the laptop as a new red indicator appeared beneath the van system. Secondary timer active. Arder Wushetzofen. Arder Wushabafen. Arder Wushetiefen. Callahan saw it over her shoulder. Maya. She lifted the radio. Ellis, she said. The trigger was not the end. It was the distraction. Ellis answered from Hall C, sharp and immediate. Where's the timer? Maya looked at the screen. The label pulsed beside a location code. Lower loading dock. Vehicle bay, not the van outside. A second device was already inside the building. Maya picked up her torn leather bag. Her voice remained calm, because calm was the last useful thing she had. "Commander," she said, "we have 3 minutes to find the real bomb." Maya William ran. This time, she did not care who saw it. The lower corridor blurred around her in strips of concrete, steel doors, red exit signs, and trembling fluorescent light. Behind her, Ruiz and 2 SWAT officers dragged the captured contractor away from the utility room. Ahead of her, Commander Callahan was already moving toward the loading dock with a rifle team, his voice steady over the radio as the timer counted down on every screen that mattered. 2 minutes, 40 seconds, Denise Porter said from headquarters. Her voice was tight but controlled. Timer still active. Maya pressed her earpiece. "Ellis. Location? Moving from Hall C to lower loading dock. I've got 1 tech with me. If this device is shielded, we may not see it until we're on top of it." Callahan cut in. "My team is 30 seconds from the vehicle bay. No one opens anything until I see it," Maya said. Callahan did not argue. "Copy." She reached the freight elevator alcove and turned left toward the loading dock. The air grew hotter there, thick with diesel, dust, and the sour smell of cardboard and wet concrete. Metal roll-up doors lined one wall. Stacks of folding tables sat strapped to carts. A half-empty pallet of bottled water stood near a trash compactor. The place looked ordinary, and that made her hate it. Bombs loved ordinary places. 2 minutes. 15 seconds, Denise said. Maya entered the vehicle bay just as Callahan's team swept in from the opposite side. No one shouted. No one wasted movement. The loading dock stretched wide and low beneath the convention center, lit by industrial lamps and strips of sunlight pushing under the outer doors. 3 delivery vehicles were parked inside. A catering box truck, a flower van, and a black equipment trailer marked with the logo of a stage lighting company. Maya stopped. Her eyes went to the trailer. Callahan saw it. "That one? Maybe." Ellis arrived, breathing hard, bomb suit helmet under one arm, his tech behind him with a portable scanner. "Why the trailer?" Maya pointed without moving closer. "It's too clean." Ruiz frowned. "Clean? Is bad? In a loading dock during an event?" "Yes." Ellis nodded once. "Scanner up." The tech moved forward carefully, sweeping the device from a distance. 2 minutes, Denise said. At headquarters, someone in the background prayed under their breath. An older male voice. Maybe Miller. Maybe someone else who had not prayed in years until the morning gave him a reason. The scanner clicked softly. Ellis said, "I'm getting shielding." Callahan looked at Maya. "Can you tell what kind?" "Not yet." The black trailer sat perfectly still. Its chrome lock reflected the loading dock lights. On the side, the stage lighting company logo was printed slightly off-center. Maya stepped closer. Callahan reached for her arm, then stopped himself before touching her. "Maya, the logo is wrong," she said. Ellis looked. "How?" "The real company uses blue lettering. This is navy." "Almost right." "Not right," Ruiz whispered. "Damn." Maya crouched near the trailer hitch. A cable ran from beneath the frame into the dock's power outlet. It was dressed like a charging line. It was not. "Ellis," she said. "External power is feeding the trigger assembly." He moved beside her, careful and focused. "If we disconnect wrong, it may accelerate. Then we don't disconnect." 1 minute. 30. Callahan's radio crackled. "All civilians clear from Hall C and adjacent corridors." Maya closed her eyes for half a beat. That mattered. That was hundreds of lives moved from the blast center. But the building still held bomb squad, SWAT, staff, police, and whoever had not yet been found. She opened her eyes. "What's above us?" Karen Whitlock answered through the channel, breathless. "Service offices, storage, part of the West Concourse. Not public seating. Load-bearing columns?" "Yes." Ellis stared at the trailer. "If this is big enough and placed right, it could bring down part of the concourse." Maya looked at the cable, the trailer, the dock doors, then the timer on Ellis's handheld display. Eder Scharfen. This was the real design. The van outside drew bomb squad. The relay drew her inside. Vale's trigger drew eyes to headquarters. Then the timer finished the job below the building. Not for maximum casualties anymore, but for maximum shame. Federal agent, SWAT, police, and first responders killed trying to save people. A second failure point. Dallas. All over again. The thought came sharp enough to cut. 6 years earlier, Maya had stood in another service corridor, staring at another almost right detail. A junction box installed half an inch too high. She had said wait. Command had said move. Then the world had turned white, and 6 names became the weight she carried in an envelope. Not this time. Ellis, she said. Can you X-ray through the shielding? Not fast enough. Can you disrupt the timer? Maybe if I access the control board. That means opening the trailer. Yes. Which may trigger anti-tamper. Yes. Callahan looked at the outer roll-up doors. Can we tow it out? Ellis shook his head. Moving it could set it off. Maya stood and looked around. The loading dock had sprinkler lines, emergency foam cabinets, maintenance sandbags near a flood drain, and a forklift parked beside the catering truck. 50 seconds, Denise said. Maya pointed to the forklift. Can we lift without changing pitch? Ruiz stared. You want to move the trailer? No. I want to change what the blast hits. Ellis caught on first. Barrier. Yes. We can't move the bomb, so we move the room around it. Callahan turned to his team. Sandbags, water pallets, tables, anything dense. Build a wall between the trailer and the interior columns. Now, the loading dock erupted into controlled motion. SWAT officers shoved pallets of bottled water across the floor. Ruiz jumped onto the forklift and eased it forward, lowering the forks to push stacked crates without jolting them. Karen's maintenance staff, 2 older men who had refused to leave the building, appeared from a side door. Callahan shouted, "Get out of here." One of them, a black man with a gray beard and a Braves cap, shook his head. I know this dock better than you do. Maya looked at him. Name? Leon. Leon, those tables go there. Stack them flat. No metal legs facing the trailer. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. The second man, white-haired and thin, was already dragging sandbags. My knees are bad, not my hands. Maya almost smiled. Then use the hands. 30 seconds, Denise said. Ellis had gone to the trailer's side panel. I found an access seam. If I open it, I might reach the board. Maya looked at him. Odds? Bad. How bad? Bad enough I don't want to say it in front of people I respect. Callahan said. Then we fall back. Maya stared at the timer. Lingdian Arshasifen. The barrier was half built. Enough to redirect part of the blast. Not enough to save everyone in the dock. She looked at Ellis. He looked back, understanding. Some jobs came down to hands. Open it, Maya said. Callahan turned. Maya, if he doesn't, it detonates anyway. Ellis slid a thin tool into the seam. Lingden Schertiefen. Maya moved beside him. No, Callahan said. Yes, she replied. Ellis popped the panel. Inside was a compact control assembly, wires bundled too neatly. Timer module blinking red, secondary battery tied to a dead man circuit. Ellis whispered, professional. Maya saw the kill path before he finished the word. Not the red wire. Not the black. A tiny blue jumper bridging the timer to the backup power. Dallas had taught her what altered schematics could hide. Cut the blue jumper, she said. Ellis froze. Blue is usually data. It's not data. It's the bridge. Ling der Lingbafen. Maya, are you sure? Callahan asked. No one was ever sure with 8 seconds left. Sure was a luxury for people watching from safe rooms. Maya thought of 6 names. She thought of her father. She thought of the old veterans moving into sunlight. Cut it, she said. Ellis cut. The timer stopped at null. Trey. For 1 second. No one breathed. Then the red light died. Denise's voice broke over the radio. Timer signal is gone. Confirm status. Please, confirm status. Ellis stared at the device, then let out a laugh that sounded almost like pain. Device disabled. Repeat. Device disabled. The loading dock exhaled. Leon sat down hard on a stack of tables. The white-haired maintenance man crossed himself. Ruiz leaned against the forklift and whispered something in Spanish. Callahan lowered his head for one brief second, then looked at Maya. "You saved the building," he said. Maya looked at the dead timer. "No," she said quietly. "We got one bomb." Callahan understood. "Vale." Maya picked up her damaged leather bag from where she had set it near the wall. At headquarters, Denise's voice came through again. "Urgent. Agent William. Vale is being transported for medical custody, but he's asking for you. He says you still don't know who gave the final order in Dallas." The loading dock, moments ago filled with relief, went cold again. Maya closed her eyes. 6 names, 6 voices, 6 ghosts waiting for the truth. When she opened them, there was no hesitation left in her face. "Commander," she said, "secure every device, every suspect, every access log. Nobody touches evidence from Vale's office but federal techs." Callahan nodded. "And you?" Maya looked toward the stairwell leading back up into the building. "I'm going back to the station," she said, "to question Vale, to find out how far this goes." Above them, the Veterans Memorial Ceremony had not begun. Outside, the crowd was alive. The flags still moved in the warm Atlanta air. But Maya knew the operation was not over. The bomb had been stopped. The betrayal had only started speaking. The ride back to Atlanta Police Headquarters felt longer than the ride out. Maya sat in the rear of Callahan's tactical SUV with the damaged leather bag on her lap and the dead weight of Vale's message pressing harder than the morning heat. Outside the window, the city continued pretending it was ordinary. Traffic lights changed. Delivery drivers double-parked. A woman walked a golden retriever past a line of news vans without looking up from her phone. The world was very good at continuing. That was one of the cruelest things Maya had learned. Callahan sat beside her, one hand resting near his radio. "You don't have to be the one to question him." Maya did not look away from the street. "Yes, I do. He's wounded. He's cornered. He'll say anything to pull you off balance. He already did." "Dallas?" The word sat between them. Maya's fingers tightened once around the torn strap. 6 federal agents died in Dallas because someone altered the operational schematic after my team entered the building. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know fast enough. Callahan's voice softened. "That's not the same as causing it. Survivors always get told that. And do you believe it?" Maya watched a flag move outside a firehouse. Some days, he did not push. At headquarters, the building looked different when they returned. The same brick, the same glass doors, the same lobby where her belongings had scattered across the floor less than 3 hours earlier. But now uniformed officers stood straighter as she entered. Conversations died before she reached them. Some faces carried shame. Others carried awe. A few carried resentment, because certain people hated being saved by someone they had dismissed. Maya did not need their gratitude. She needed the truth. Sergeant Miller met her near the front desk. His face looked 10 years older than it had that morning. "Vale's in medical interview 1. Arm wounds been treated. Federal marshals are on the way." But he refused to say anything unless you came back. "Briggs?" Maya asked. Miller glanced toward the command floor. "In his office. Quiet for once." Callahan said, "Keep him there." Miller nodded. Gladly. As Maya passed the lobby, the old veteran from earlier rose carefully from his chair. He had stayed, though no one had asked him to. His faded cap sat crooked now, and his eyes followed her with the clear steadiness of a man who had seen battle and bureaucracy and knew which one wore cleaner shoes. "Ma'am," he said. Maya stopped. He pointed gently to her bag. "World's full of fools who don't know the difference between old and worthless." For the first time that day, Maya's face softened. "Yes, sir." He nodded. "Your daddy military?" "Marine." "Thought so." He tapped 2 fingers to the brim of his cap. "Carry him proud." Maya felt the words land somewhere. Briggs's insults had not reached. "I try," she said. Then she moved on. Medical interview. 1 had been cleared, except for Vale. 1 medic, 2 armed officers, and a camera. Vale sat at the metal table with his left arm bandaged and secured in a sling. His face was pale, but his composure had returned. Some men wore guilt badly. Vale wore it like another uniform. Maya entered alone. Callahan remained outside the door, but visible through the glass. Vale smiled faintly. Agent William. Deputy Chief Vale. I suppose congratulations are in order. The building still stands. The people do too. For now. Maya sat across from him and placed her torn leather bag on the table between them. Vale's eyes dropped to it, and the smile deepened. Briggs really did a number on that thing. Briggs was useful to you. He was predictable. So was your arrogance. Vale's smile faded slightly. You think this morning proves something? It proves you used your badge to help terrorists target a veterans memorial. He leaned back. That word is so convenient. Terrorist. It saves everyone the trouble of understanding motive. Then explain yours. Vale looked at the camera in the corner. For the official record, for the dead, something moved across his face. Not remorse. Irritation. The dead are always used by the living, he said. Flags, speeches, ceremonies, memorial halls. Men die, and then politicians turn them into decorations. Maya's eyes stayed on him. So you decided to kill more of them? I decided to expose rot. No. You sold access to murderers and hid behind symbolism. His hand twitched on the table. Pain or anger. Maybe both. You sound just like you did in Dallas, Vale said, so certain you were the only one seeing clearly. Maya did not answer. Vale leaned closer. Do you still hear them? The room became very quiet. Those 6 names in your bag, he said softly. You carry them like prayer cards. Noble, tragic, exhausting, I imagine. Maya's voice remained level. Who gave the order? Vale's smile returned. There she is. Who changed the Dallas schematic? You already know I was involved. I know you had access. I know your contractor knew details outside the official report. I know today's devices used the same false routing method as Dallas. Vale studied her. And yet, you don't know the thing that matters. Maya leaned forward slightly. Then say it. He looked toward the glass where Callahan stood. No, not with him watching. He's staying. Then I'm done. Maya sat back. She gave him silence. Vale expected pressure, anger, threats. Maya gave him none of it. She simply watched him as if he were evidence, not a man. After 20 seconds, he shifted. After 30, he looked away. After 40, he spoke. Dallas was never supposed to kill your whole team. Maya's pulse did not change. She had trained herself for moments like this. Though training never stopped the soul from hearing. It was supposed to kill one person, Vale continued. Assistant Director Helen Marsh. Maya remembered Marsh. 60 years old, sharp-eyed, a woman who kept peppermints in her jacket pocket and wrote condolence letters by hand. She had died in the second blast. Why? Maya asked. Because Marsh found the procurement channel. What channel? Vale's face hardened. The one moving seized explosives out of federal storage and into private hands. Domestic groups, militias, contractors, people willing to pay for untraceable power. Maya felt the room tilt a fraction, though her body did not move. Who ran it? Vale smiled again. Now we're at the center. Name. He shook his head. Names cost. So do lives. That never stopped Washington. Maya looked at him for a long moment. You didn't build this alone. You don't have the reach. No. Who above you protected the channel? Vale glanced at the camera again. Turn that off. No. Then you'll never hear it. Maya stood. For the first time, Vale looked surprised. Leaving already? You wanted me alone. Emotional. Bargaining with you. I'm not. You need the name. I need evidence more. He laughed softly. You won't find it. Maya picked up her bag. You kept insurance. His smile disappeared. There it was. Every corrupt man believed himself careful. Every careful man kept something in case his partners betrayed him. Maya moved toward the door. Vale's voice followed her. You don't know where to look. She stopped with her hand on the handle. He said, and if you do find it, the same people who buried Dallas will bury you. Maya turned back. They tried burying me in a lobby this morning. Vale's eyes narrowed. It didn't take, she said. Outside, Callahan fell into step beside her. Well, he has insurance. Where? His office, his home, or somewhere he thinks no one would disrespect enough to search. Miller approached from the hall, holding a tablet. Agent William, federal techs found something on the contractor's phone. A recurring location ping. Not Vale's house. Not the station. He handed her the tablet. Maya looked at the address. Her expression changed. Callahan noticed. What is it? Maya read the name of the location aloud. South Atlanta Veterans Outreach Center. Miller frowned. That's a charity. Vale sits on the board. Maya thought of the memorial. The old men. The flags. The way evil loved to hide inside holy-looking places. Of course he does, she said. Callahan keyed his radio. We'll roll a team. Maya shook her head. Quiet approach. No lights, no sirens. If Vale stored evidence there, someone else may already be moving to clean it. Miller looked down the hallway toward Briggs's office. What about the chief? Maya glanced once in that direction. Keep him out of the way. As she started for the exit, Briggs's office door opened. Chief Harold Briggs stepped out. He looked smaller than he had that morning. Not physically, but morally. As if the day had taken a measurement of him and found less than expected. His eyes went to Maya's torn bag, then to her face. For a moment, he seemed to want to speak. Maya did not wait. There were apologies that mattered. His was not yet one of them. She walked past him toward the front doors, and this time every officer in the lobby moved aside before she reached them. Outside, Atlanta's heat struck her again. The Veterans Outreach Center was 20 minutes away. If Vale's insurance was there, then the truth about Dallas, the terror plot, and the people above him might finally have a shape. Maya tightened her grip on the torn leather bag. The betrayal had started speaking. Now she intended to make it testify. The South Atlanta Veterans Outreach Center sat behind a small Baptist church and a row of live oaks that had outlived every scandal men tried to hide beneath them. It was not the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a counterterrorism investigation. It had a brick front, a wheelchair ramp, 2 flagpoles, and a hand-painted sign near the entrance that read, Coffee, Claims Help, Fellowship, Tuesdays and Thursdays. A faded mural on the side wall showed soldiers from different generations standing together under one flag. Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, Afghanistan. Men and women painted with careful hands and tired eyes. Maya Williams stepped out of the SUV and studied the building without moving. Places like this mattered. They were where older veterans came when the government became too complicated, when paperwork felt like another war, when loneliness got loud in the afternoon. They came for help with benefits, rides to appointments, grief groups, bad coffee, and someone who would listen without checking the clock. The fact that Vale had hidden anything here made Maya's anger colder. Callahan came around the front of the vehicle. No movement on the exterior. Ruiz lowered his binoculars. One sedan in the back lot. No heat signatures near the front windows. Blinds are closed. Miller stood beside them in a borrowed tactical vest that sat awkwardly over his uniform. He had insisted on coming. Callahan had almost refused, but Maya had said, let him finish what he started. Since then, Miller had been quiet. Maya looked at him. You know this place? He nodded. My father came here after my mother died. They helped him file his VA appeal. Vale used to give speeches at their fundraisers. Of course he did, Maya said. Miller's face tightened. I hate that I never saw it. You saw what you were trained to trust. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. He gave a short, humorless breath. Fair enough. They moved without sirens, without shouting, without the theater that made raids feel clean on television. Real Danger preferred quiet. 2 SWAT officers covered the rear entrance. Ruiz moved along the left wall. Callahan took the front with Maya beside him. The door was unlocked. That was the first bad sign. Callahan pushed it open slowly. Inside, the outreach center smelled of coffee grounds, furniture polish, and old paper. A reception desk stood empty. Pamphlets about PTSD counseling, disability claims, widow benefits, and housing assistance lined a rack near the wall. A bulletin board displayed photographs from cookouts, memorial rides, Christmas drives, and birthday parties for men old enough to have outlived most of their platoons. Maya saw a photo of Vale standing with his arm around a Korean War veteran, smiling. Trusted. Clear left. Ruiz whispered over the radio. Clear rear office, another officer answered. Maya moved toward the main fellowship room. Folding tables were arranged in rows. A coffee pot sat half full on a side counter. 2 mugs had been left near a checkerboard. On the wall hung framed letters from grateful families. Miller stopped beside one of them. My father wrote that one. Maya looked. The signature read, Thomas Miller, thank you for helping an old man feel seen again. Miller looked away. Callahan's voice was low. If someone's cleaning evidence, they're not in the front. Maya pointed toward a hallway marked records and storage. Back there, they moved down the hall. The door at the end was locked, but not well. Ruiz opened it in 15 seconds. The storage room beyond was dark, windowless, and crowded with file cabinets, donation boxes, old uniforms, walkers, oxygen tanks, and plastic bins labeled by year. It looked exactly like a place no one would search unless they already knew Shame had a filing system. Maya stepped inside and listened. A soft electronic hum came from the far wall. Callahan heard it too. Server? Maya moved toward a metal cabinet hidden behind stacked boxes of donated winter coats. The lock was new. Everything else in the room was old. Ruiz crouched near it. Want it opened? Yes. Carefully. He worked the lock while Maya scanned the room. Her eyes stopped on a framed photograph leaning against a shelf. A younger Vale stood beside 3 men in suits, and one woman Maya recognized immediately. Assistant Director Helen Marsh. Dallas. Maya picked up the photograph. Callahan saw her face. Marsh. Yes. Miller looked from the photo to Maya. The woman Vale said was the real target? Maya nodded. She was here. Ruiz opened the cabinet. Inside was a compact server tower, 2 encrypted drives, a power backup, and a stack of manila envelopes sealed in plastic. Each envelope carried a handwritten code. Not names. Numbers. Maya did not touch them immediately. Photograph everything, she said. Ruiz documented the cabinet from every angle. Callahan called in the federal evidence team, keeping his voice low. Miller stood in the doorway, guarding the hall like a man who had finally chosen where to place his feet. Maya read the codes. D6. Adel Mem. Marsh. R. V channel. Her breath slowed. Callahan saw the label. Channel. Procurement channel, Maya said. The explosives network Vale mentioned. Ruiz looked at the server. Can we pull the drives? Not until techs image the system. If it's booby-trapped digitally, removal could wipe it. A sound came from the front of the building. Not loud. A chair leg scraping. Everyone froze. Callahan lifted his rifle slightly. Ruiz moved to the opposite side of the door. Miller's hand went to his sidearm. Maya held up 2 fingers, then pointed down the hall. Callahan nodded. They moved back through the hallway in silence. The fellowship room remained empty at first glance. Then a figure emerged, slowly from behind the coffee counter. An elderly black woman, maybe 75, stood with both hands raised. She wore a lavender cardigan and a church hat with a small pearl pin. Her face was frightened, but her eyes were sharp. Please don't shoot, she said. I work here. Maya lowered her weapon first. Ma'am, keep your hands visible. What's your name? Mrs. Alberta Green. Callahan looked around. Why are you hiding? Because 2 men came in here 20 minutes ago and told me to go home. I knew something was wrong because Mr. Vale never sends men to do his dirty work unless he's scared. Maya stepped closer. You know Vale? Mrs. Green's mouth tightened. I know enough to call him Mr. Vale and not Deputy Chief. When God is listening. Miller blinked. Maya almost smiled. Where did the men go? Back room first. Then one left through the rear. The other went downstairs. There's a downstairs? Callahan asked. Mrs. Green pointed toward a closet beside the kitchen. Old storm cellar. Building used to be a community canteen. Folks forget old buildings have old bones. Maya looked at Callahan. Evidence cleanup. Ruiz spoke into his radio. Rear team. Did anyone exit? A tense answer came back. Negative. We had eyes on the rear. Mrs. Green shook her head. Not the back door, baby. Tunnel. Callahan stared. Tunnel? Old service passage to the church basement. They used it during storms, back when the neighborhood still had sense. Maya was already moving. Show me. Mrs. Green led them to the closet. Behind mops and boxes of paper cups was a narrow door with a rusted latch. Cold air breathed from the seam. Miller whispered, "I came here for years and never knew this existed." Mrs. Green looked at him. "Most men don't see what women keep working." She opened the door. Wooden steps descended into darkness. From below came a faint sound. Footsteps. Running. Callahan keyed his radio. "All units. Suspect moving through underground passage toward church basement. Cover exits. Quiet if possible. Fast if not." Maya started down the stairs. Callahan caught her eye. "Together. This time." She nodded. The cellar smelled of damp brick and age. Their flashlights cut through dust and shadow. Ahead, the tunnel stretched low and narrow beneath the ground. At the far end, a figure moved in the dark, carrying a hard drive case. "Federal agent," Maya called. "Stop." The man ran. Ruiz pushed past, but Maya raised a hand. "No shots. Evidence case." The chase was short but brutal. The tunnel opened into a church basement lined with folding chairs and hymnals. The suspect knocked over a table, lunged toward a side door, and ran straight into Miller, who had taken the exterior route with more speed than his knees should have allowed. Miller hit him low. Both men went down hard. The drive case skidded across the floor. Maya picked it up before anyone else could touch it. The suspect groaned beneath Miller. "Get off me, old man." Miller, breathing hard, pressed a knee between the man's shoulders. "Son, I have been waiting all morning to be useful." Callahan cuffed the suspect. Maya opened the drive case just enough to confirm contents. One encrypted solid-state drive. One handwritten ledger. One photograph sealed in plastic. She looked at the photograph. Vale, Marsh, and another man standing in front of a federal building. The third man wore no uniform, but Maya knew his face from briefings and closed-door oversight meetings. Senator Charles Whitmore, a man who had built his career on veterans, security, patriotism, and law and order. Maya felt the final wall of the case move. Callahan saw the recognition. "Who is it?" Maya slid the photograph back into the case. "Someone higher than Vale," she said. Mrs. Green stood at the top of the basement stairs, one hand pressed to her chest. "Is this going to hurt the center?" Maya looked around at the folding chairs, the donated coats, the old hymnals, the place where forgotten people came to be remembered. "No, ma'am," she said. "It's going to hurt the men who used it." Outside, sirens finally sounded in the distance. This time, they were not arriving too late. Maya held the drive case in one hand and her torn leather bag in the other. The truth had a shape now, and somewhere in Atlanta, men who thought themselves untouchable were about to learn that quiet women remember everything. Maya Williams stood in the church basement with the evidence case in her hand and understood, with a cold certainty, that the morning had just become larger than Atlanta. Senator Charles Whitmore's face stared up from the sealed photograph like a man who had never expected to be seen in the wrong room. He was a national figure now, silver-haired, polished, beloved by morning shows and veterans groups, the kind of man who spoke slowly about sacrifice while cameras found the flag over his shoulder. For 20 years, he had built a career on law, order, and the promise that America could still recognize its heroes. And now his picture sat beside Vale, Marsh, and a dead woman who had apparently known too much. Callahan came closer. "Maya, if that's who I think it is, we need federal custody on that case now." "We need more than custody," Maya said. "We need duplication, authentication, and a chain of evidence that no one in Washington can quietly lose." Miller, still kneeling on the suspect's back, looked up. "You think they would?" Maya looked at the photograph again. "I think powerful men don't build channels like this unless they've already built places to hide the bodies." The suspect beneath Miller laughed into the basement floor. "You people still think evidence matters." Miller pressed his knee down a little harder. "At my age, son, I don't have many hobbies left. Don't make me enjoy this one." Callahan took the suspect from him and handed him off to Ruiz. Maya shut the case and turned toward Mrs. Alberta Green, who stood near the stairs, with both hands folded around a small cross hanging from her neck. "Mrs. Green," Maya said, "I need to know who else had access to this cellar." Mrs. Green's lips pressed together. "Mr. Vale, the church pastor. Me. Sometimes Mr. Leonard when the pipes act up. But those men today had keys. Keys from Vale." "I expect so. Did you ever see Senator Whitmore here?" Mrs. Green's face changed, not with surprise, but with the discomfort of a memory finding its place. "Twice. Fundraiser nights. He came through the front, smiling, shaking old soldiers' hands, calling them patriots. But one time, after the speeches, I saw him and Mr. Vale go back toward storage with a woman in a gray suit." "Helen Marsh?" Maya asked. "I don't know her name." Maya showed her the photograph. Mrs. Green touched her glasses, leaned in, and nodded slowly. "That's her." She didn't look happy. Maya felt the case grow heavier. Callahan's radio crackled. "Command, this is Denise. Agent William, you need to hear this. Headquarters just received a call from Senator Whitmore's office. They're asking whether you are in custody." The basement went silent. Maya lifted her radio. "Say that again." Denise's voice tightened. "A senior staffer claimed you are interfering with an ongoing federal state investigation and may be in possession of classified material unlawfully." Callahan swore under his breath. Miller stood slowly, one hand on his knee. "They're already trying to flip it." Maya closed her eyes for half a second. Not from fear, from recognition. This was how institutions protected themselves when men inside them rotted. First, they questioned your tone, then your authority, then your memory, then your sanity. And if that failed, they questioned whether you had ever belonged in the room at all. She opened her eyes. "Denise, who took the call?" "Briggs." Maya looked at Callahan. "He said." "Of course he did," Denise continued. "He hasn't acted on it yet. He's in his office with the door open, staring at the phone like it bit him." For one brief second, Maya almost saw the man from the lobby not as an enemy, but as a weak hinge on a very heavy door. Briggs had been cruel. He had been racist. He had been arrogant, but now he knew he had been used. That knowledge could either break him open or make him more dangerous. "Miller," Maya said, "call Briggs directly. Tell him if he takes orders from Whitmore's office, he becomes part of the cover-up." Miller blinked. "You want me to say it like that?" "Yes." He reached for his phone. "Good. I'm tired of being delicate." Callahan stepped closer to Maya. "Whitmore knows you have the case." "No," Maya said. "He knows Vale's insurance was here. He doesn't know what we recovered. Yet." "Exactly." Ruiz came back from the hallway. "Federal evidence team is 5 minutes out. But we've got a problem outside. News vans are arriving. Somebody tipped them." Mrs. Green looked toward the ceiling, as if she could see the street through the floorboards. "Lord have mercy. They'll trample my flower bed." Maya turned to her. "Ma'am, I'm sorry for what's about to happen to this place." Mrs. Green straightened. "Baby, this place was built by widows, veterans, and church ladies. It can survive reporters." That steadiness held the room together for one more second. Then Maya's cracked phone buzzed inside her torn bag. Unknown encrypted relay. She knew before she opened it that the message would not be random. The screen lit up with 6 words. Dallas was authorized. "Stand down now." Beneath the message was an attachment. Audio file. Maya's thumb hovered over the screen. Callahan saw the hesitation. "Could be malware." "It probably is." "Then don't open it." Maya looked at the evidence case. "If it's bait, I need to know what kind." She handed the phone to Callahan. "Air gap it through your tech unit. No network, no forwarding." Callahan nodded to Ruiz, who passed it to a SWAT tech entering from the stairwell. The young man set up a portable isolation device on a folding church table beneath a framed Sunday school drawing of Noah's Ark. America had strange rooms for judgment. Miller returned from his call. His face was pale. Briggs answered, "And I told him what you said. Then I told him I watched him shame this department in the lobby, and he had one chance today not to shame it again." Callahan raised an eyebrow. "You said that?" Miller looked almost surprised at himself. "I may have added a few words." "What did he say?" Maya asked. Miller's voice softened. He said, "Tell Agent William I'm not taking the senator's call again." Maya said nothing for a moment. It was not redemption. Not yet. But it was a first honest step. The SWAT tech looked up from the isolated device. Audio is clean enough to play. No outgoing signal. Maya nodded. The file began. At first, there was static. Then, voices. One was Vale's, younger but unmistakable. Another was Helen Marsh, sharp and angry. Then, a third voice entered. "Senator Whitmore, you let Dallas proceed," Marsh said in the recording. "You knew civilians and agents would die." Whitmore's voice was calm. "Sacrifices were made to protect a channel vital to national stability." Marsh answered, "You mean profitable?" A chair scraped. Vale said, "Helen, lower your voice." Whitmore spoke again. "If Agent Williams survives the report, discredit her. If she pushes, bury her. If she gets too close, remove her." The audio stopped. No one in the basement moved. Maya stood very still, because if she moved too quickly, the grief might move with her. 6 names, 6 ghosts, 6 years of being told survival was not guilt, while the people responsible had gone to fundraisers and speeches and memorial breakfasts. Mrs. Green whispered, "Dear God." Callahan looked at Maya. "We have him." Maya's voice came out low. "Not until the public record has him too." Denise burst through the radio. "Agent William, Whitmore's office just issued a statement. They're claiming you are a rogue federal agent connected to the attempted attack." Miller looked sick. "They're blaming her." Maya picked up her torn leather bag and the evidence case. Outside, reporters were gathering. Sirens approached. Somewhere above, flags moved in the heat. Somewhere downtown, old veterans were still alive because strangers had chosen to act before pride could kill them. Maya walked toward the stairs. Callahan followed. "Where are you going?" "To the place Whitmore can't control fast enough." "The press?" "No," Maya said. "The veterans, at 10:03 a.m. The ceremony that terrorists had meant to destroy was still delayed but not canceled. Hundreds of veterans, families, officers, and cameras waited outside under the Atlanta sun. Maya looked up the stairwell toward daylight. If Whitmore wanted to turn her into the story, then she would give America the truth in front of the very people he had used as decoration. And this time, no one was going to leave her sitting unseen in the hallway. Maya stepped out of the church basement and into the Atlanta sun with the evidence case in one hand and her torn leather bag in the other. The reporters saw her before she reached the sidewalk. Cameras turned. Microphones lifted. Voices rose all at once, sharp and hungry. "Agent William, are you under investigation? Did you interfere with the police response? Is it true you're connected to the attack? Are you a rogue federal agent?" Callahan moved beside her, his jaw tight. Ruiz and 2 SWAT officers formed a careful line, not blocking the press entirely, just keeping the crush from swallowing her. Sergeant Miller came behind them, older and slower, but with his head up. Across the street, buses idled along the curb. Veterans sat beneath temporary shade tents, while volunteers handed out water. Some were in wheelchairs. Some leaned on canes. Some wore caps from Vietnam, Korea, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan. Wives sat beside them with folded programs in their laps. Grandchildren waved small flags, not yet understanding how close the morning had come to becoming history for all the wrong reasons. Maya looked at them, not at the cameras. One reporter pushed forward. "Agent William, Senator Whitmore's office says you acted outside your authority. Do you deny that?" Maya stopped. Callahan leaned closer. "You don't have to answer here." "Yes," Maya said quietly. "I do." She turned toward the gathered crowd. Her damaged bag hung awkwardly from her wrist. The broken strap was visible. The evidence case was locked at her side. Her coat was dusty from the basement, and there was a thin line of grease along one cuff from the loading dock. She did not look polished. She looked like someone who had been through the truth and come back carrying it. "Get Denise on a secure line," she told Callahan. "Tell her to release the audio to federal oversight, the state attorney general, and every major newsroom at the same time. No single point of silence. Callahan held her gaze for 1 second, then nodded. "Do it," he told Ruiz. A murmur moved through the reporters. Maya stepped toward the veterans' tents. An older man in a wheelchair recognized her from the convention center hallway. "That's the lady who got us out." His wife looked up sharply. "The one they're talking about on the news?" He gripped the flag in his lap. "News talks too much." That sentence moved through the crowd faster than the reporters could. Maya stopped near the front of the tent line. She did not climb onto a stage. She did not ask for a podium. She simply stood where people could see her. "My name is Maya William," she said. The cameras caught her voice, but she was not speaking to them. "I was sent to Atlanta this morning as part of a federal counter-terrorism response. A device was placed in this area with the intent to kill civilians, veterans, police officers, first responders, and families gathered to honor service. That attack was stopped." A reporter shouted, "By you?" Maya looked at him. "By many people who decided, in time, to do the right thing." Sergeant Miller lowered his eyes. Callahan stood still. Maya continued. "Some of those people wore uniforms. Some wore volunteer badges. Some pushed wheelchairs. Some carried coffee. Some sang hymns so no one would panic." The crowd quieted. A woman under the tent began to cry silently. Maya lifted the evidence case slightly. "The people behind this attack expected confusion. They expected pride to slow us down. They expected prejudice to make me invisible long enough for them to finish what they started." The word prejudice landed hard. Several officers near the curb looked away. Maya did not. They were wrong. At that moment, phones began buzzing across the crowd. Reporters looked down. Producers shouted from behind cameras. One journalist pressed a hand to his earpiece and went pale. The audio had been released. Senator Whitmore's voice was now moving through America. Sacrifices were made to protect a channel vital to national stability. If Agent Williams survives the report, discredit her. If she pushes, bury her. If she gets too close, remove her. A sound rose from the crowd. Not a scream, not a cheer, but a collective human reaction to a lie breaking open. One Vietnam veteran stood slowly with help from his son. "That man came to our fundraiser," he said. He shook my hand. Mrs. Green, standing near the church steps, called out. "He shook a lot of hands he didn't deserve to touch." The crowd turned toward her, and for one brief, impossible second, even the reporters fell silent. Then the questions exploded again. Is Senator Whitmore under arrest? Was Deputy Chief Vale working for him? How long has this been going on? Maya did not answer every question. She knew better. Truth needed structure, or it became noise. "Deputy Chief Richard Vale is in custody," she said. "Evidence recovered today links him to the attempted bombing and to a prior cover-up involving the deaths of federal agents in Dallas. That evidence is now in multiple hands. It cannot be buried by one office, one badge, or one senator." Callahan's radio crackled. He listened, then looked at Maya. "Federal marshals have Whitmore's Atlanta office locked down. State Attorney General is moving publicly. Newsrooms have the file." Maya nodded once. Justice did not arrive like thunder. Not really. It arrived like locked doors, copied files, recorded voices, witnesses who refused to look away, and tired people choosing not to be afraid at the same time. A black SUV pulled up at the curb. 2 federal marshals stepped out, followed by a senior agent Maya knew by reputation but had never trusted enough to like. He approached carefully, as if unsure whether she was evidence, witness, or storm. "Agent William," he said. "We'll take custody of the materials." Maya held the case but did not hand it over. "Chain of custody is being recorded by SWAT, APD, state investigators, and press cameras. You'll sign for it here." His jaw tightened. "That's unusual." So was today. Callahan almost smiled. The senior agent looked at the cameras, then at the veterans watching him, then signed the digital transfer Ruiz placed in front of him. Only then did Maya release the case. As the marshals secured it, a stir moved through the police line. Chief Harold Briggs had arrived. He stood several yards away in full uniform, face pale, hands empty. No swagger now. No booming voice. No room bending around him. Just an aging man in a polished badge, staring at the woman he had tried to reduce before the whole morning proved how small that instinct had been. Reporters noticed him instantly. Chief Briggs. Did you delay Agent William? Did you assault her in the lobby? Were racist remarks made inside your station? Briggs flinched at the word racist, as if it had been unfair to name what he had shown plainly. Maya watched him. For a moment, she thought he might retreat into anger. Men like Briggs often did. Shame frightened them, so they turned it outward. But he looked at the veterans, then at Miller, then at the torn bag hanging from Maya's wrist. His voice, when it came, was rough. I was wrong. The reporters surged closer. Briggs swallowed. I failed to verify Agent Williams' credentials. I delayed the response. I treated her with disrespect. I put my pride before my duty. Maya said nothing. He turned to her fully. I owe you an apology. The crowd waited. Maya looked at him for a long moment. No, she said. Briggs's face tightened. You owe this city an accounting, Maya said. You owe your officers a better example. You owe every black woman who walks into your building after me more than words. Briggs lowered his eyes. It was not forgiveness. Not yet, but it was the beginning of consequence. Behind them, a group of veterans began to applaud. Slowly at first, then louder. Not for Briggs, not even only for Maya, for the fact that the morning had not ended in smoke, for the old truth that service meant standing between danger and people who might never know your name. Maya turned toward the convention center, where the flags still moved in the warm air. Callahan stood beside her. Ceremony's been moved outside. They're asking if you'll say a few words. Maya shook her head. No. This day belongs to them. An old veteran nearby lifted his flag. Then stand with us. That was harder to refuse. Maya stepped beneath the shade tent among wheelchairs, walkers, medals, church fans, and folded programs. Missus Green took her torn bag gently, produced a safety pin from somewhere no one could explain, and fastened the broken strap enough to hold. There, Mrs. Green said. Not pretty, but it'll carry. Maya looked at the repaired strap, then at the woman's lined face. Thank you. Mrs. Green smiled. Baby, that's what we do. We keep things from falling apart. A bugler raised his horn near the flagpole. The crowd quieted. As the first notes of taps moved through the Atlanta morning, Maya stood among the people the bomb had been meant to erase. Her hands were empty now. The evidence was secured. The device was dead. Vale was in custody. Whitmore's voice was in the public record. For the first time in years, the 6 names in her bag felt less like ghosts demanding answers and more like witnesses finally heard. Justice had not come loudly. It had survived because someone refused to quit. By late afternoon, Atlanta had changed its tone. The sirens were gone. The television helicopters had pulled back. The convention center plaza, once crowded with reporters and frightened families, had settled into a tired, quiet. Folding chairs stood in uneven rows beneath the shade tents. Paper cups rolled near the curb. A few small flags remained planted in the grass, bending gently in the warm breeze, as if the morning had not tried to break them. Maya Williams stood alone near the edge of the plaza, looking at the Veterans Memorial Convention Center. The building still stood. That mattered more than any headline. Behind her, veterans were boarding buses slowly, with the stubborn dignity of people who did not like being helped but had learned to accept a hand when the knees argued back. Wives gathered programs. Grandchildren slept against shoulders. Volunteers packed coolers, folded tablecloths, and spoke in soft voices. The way people did after disaster came close enough to breathe on them, but did not get to stay. Maya's torn leather bag rested against her hip again. Mrs. Green's safety pin held the strap together. It was not elegant, but it worked. Maya liked things that worked. Callahan came up beside her with 2 paper cups of coffee and handed her one. It's terrible. Maya took it. Then, it's official police coffee. Convention center coffee. Worse. She took a sip and did not argue. For a while, they stood without speaking. Across the street, federal agents loaded sealed evidence containers into a transport vehicle. Deputy Chief Richard Vale had been taken into federal custody. Senator Whitmore's Atlanta office was locked down. The audio file had reached every major newsroom in the country. Men who had built careers on patriotic speeches were now discovering that microphones could carry truth as easily as lies. Callahan looked at her bag. You could replace that. I know, but you won't. No. He nodded as if that made perfect sense. Miller asked about you. How is he? Shaken. Useful. Angry at himself. That can become something decent if he lets it. And Briggs? Maya took another sip of coffee. Chief Harold Briggs stood 30 yards away near the police line, speaking to a group of reporters with no script and no confidence. He looked older now. Not redeemed, not forgiven, just exposed. Sometimes exposure was the first mercy a soul received, even when it felt like punishment. He has a long road, Maya said. Callahan followed her gaze. Do you think he'll walk it? I think today made standing still harder. That was all she would give him. A few minutes later, Briggs approached. He stopped at a respectful distance this time. That alone told Maya he had learned at least one thing. Agent William, he said. Chief. His hands hung at his sides. Empty. No pointing. No grabbing. No performance. I know an apology doesn't fix what I did. No, it doesn't. He accepted the answer with a small nod. I spoke to Internal Affairs. I gave my statement. The lobby footage will be released with the investigation. Maya watched him carefully. Good. He looked at the bag, then away. What I said to you was racist. What I did was worse. I won't dress it up. The words seemed to cost him. Not because they were unfair, but because they were true. Maya's voice stayed even. Truth is a beginning, Chief, not a finish line. I understand. No, she said gently. You're beginning to. Briggs lowered his eyes. For a moment, the man who had filled a lobby with cruelty that morning stood silent, beneath the weight of a woman he had tried to make small. Then he said, You saved my city. Maya looked toward the buses, the flags, the old veterans moving carefully into the evening light. No, she said. Your city saved itself when enough people finally listened. Briggs had no answer for that. When he walked away, Maya did not feel victory. Victory was too clean a word for a day like this. She felt tired. She felt emptied. She felt the 6 names in her bag resting differently now, as if the dead had moved from accusation to witness. Sergeant Miller found her next. He had removed the tactical vest and looked like an ordinary aging policeman again, with sore knees and a heart trying to make room for what it had seen. My father would have liked you, he said. Maya smiled faintly. He wrote a good letter. Miller's eyes watered, but he did not wipe them. He used to say a man's last years show whether his first lessons took. That sounds like a wise man. He was. Miller looked at the convention center. I'm going to testify about what happened in the lobby. All of it. Maya nodded. That matters. I should have acted sooner. Yes. He breathed out. You don't soften much, do you? When I do, people mistake it for permission. Miller gave a sad little laugh. Fair enough. As the sun lowered behind the buildings, Mrs. Green came across the plaza carrying Maya's father's photograph. Maya had not realized she had left it tucked inside the folded program beside her chair. You almost forgot him, Mrs. Green said. Maya took the photograph with both hands. Isaiah William looked back at her from another time, young and proud in his Marine dress uniform, unaware of all the mornings his daughter would need his voice to survive. Thank you, Maya said. Mrs. Green touched her arm. Baby. Men like Whitmore use the flag like a curtain. Your father wore it like a promise. Don't you ever confuse the two. Maya looked at the old woman, and for a second, words failed her. Mrs. Green smiled as if she understood. Go on now. You look like somebody who needs quiet. Maya slipped the photograph into her bag, beside the envelope with 6 names. The names were still there. They would always be there. But tonight, they would not be alone in the dark. There would be records, witnesses, evidence, and a public truth too large for powerful men to fold away. Callahan offered to drive her back to headquarters. Maya declined. She walked. Atlanta in the evening had softened. Porch lights came on. Restaurants opened their doors. Somewhere, a church bell rang. The city smelled of hot pavement, cut grass, frying food, and rain that had not yet fallen. When she reached Atlanta Police Headquarters, the lobby was quieter than before. The plastic chair where she had waited still sat beneath the wall of commendations. The bronze plaque still held its names. The security camera still watched, but no one ignored her now. Officers stood as she entered. Not all at once, not like a ceremony. One by one. A young clerk behind the desk whispered, "Agent William." Another officer nodded. Someone else simply stepped aside. Maya did not need applause. She stopped at the place where her belongings had fallen that morning. For a moment, she saw it again. The broken strap, the scattered papers, her father's photograph near Briggs's shoe. 6 names spread across cold tile. Then she saw what was true now. Nothing important had stayed on the floor. Maya adjusted the repaired strap on her shoulder and walked toward the exit on the other side of the lobby. At the doors, she looked back once, not with bitterness, with memory, because places mattered. Rooms remembered what people did inside them. And perhaps tomorrow, when another black woman walked into that station with a badge, a complaint, a warning, or only her own tired dignity, someone would remember this day before deciding whether to see her. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall. Maya stepped into them. She did not hurry. The city lights blurred softly against the wet pavement. Behind her, the police station glowed with all its flaws, all its history, all its unfinished chances to become better than it had been that morning. Maya walked on with the old leather bag against her side, the torn strap pinned but holding, her father's photograph safe, and 6 names finally moving toward justice. Justice did not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it came tired, bruised, insulted, and underestimated. Sometimes it sat quietly in a hallway while fools laughed. And sometimes, when the whole city needed saving, justice stood up, picked up its broken bag, and walked straight into the truth. The lesson of this story is simple. Never mistake silence for weakness, and never judge a person by race, gender, appearance, or position. Sometimes the one everyone ignores is the one carrying the truth, the courage, and the strength to save them all. Real justice begins when people finally choose to listen. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. If it touched your heart, I would truly love to hear your thoughts on the storytelling, the emotional pacing, or whatever stayed with you after listening. Every comment you share helps make the next stories more honest, moving, and meaningful. And if you have a powerful or meaningful story of your own, please do not hesitate to send it to the channel. It may become the next story to touch and inspire thousands of others. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real, and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.